when he wakes up startled on a park bench, and no, he is definitely not some beggar. As his friend asks if he is all right, several green creatures pop straight out of the ground. The oblivious crowd around them assumes it is just a prank with costumed actors, so they gather closer. They gather around to watch, but Sehan already knows the real danger. He warns his friend to stay back. Suddenly, a scream cuts the air. Total chaos erupts the moment a helpless bystander is ripped clean in half. Terrified, the girl nearby screams out to ask if these horrible monsters are actually real. All while the helpless crowd around them gets brutally slaughtered by the beasts. As the goblins close in on Sehan and his friend, he shows zero fear. His gaze is ice cold, knowing exactly what to do, but something catches him off guard. Jaisu, a girl he barely knows from college, suddenly jumps in front to protect him. It has been so long, he almost forgot he was just a weak coward 10 years ago. But things are different now. In a flash, Sehan rushes the goblin, striking its chin. He steals the monster's blade, driving it straight back into its scaly throat. He tells the beast to stay down, but get this, nobody else knows his secret yet. Sehan has actually lived through all of this already. What comes next wipes out humanity, sending 99.99% of humanity straight to extinction in the future. When Sehan became the sole survivor on Earth, he felt there was no point going on. But right at the end, something the gods never predicted happened. The system they built had a hidden reward, and seeing it, Sehan felt in every fiber of his being that this was his true chance to change fate and get absolute revenge. He went back 10 years in time. Now he knows how the system works and the true, cruel intentions of the gods. With his preparations complete, the sinking of his skills is finished. His second game finally begins. Whenever players complete a quest, they receive points based on their performance, which they can spend to boost stats or buy gear. Because of this, Sehan carried over 700,000 points from his very first play, giving him a massive pay to win advantage over any of the new players. At that exact moment, several glowing spheres float silently across the college campus. Closely observing everyone below, a booming voice from above greets the terrified crowd, welcoming these reluctant participants to the gods' game. From this moment on, they must complete lethal trials to stay alive, and failing to do so brings deadly consequences. Sehan carefully plans his next moves. If he instantly boosts his stats right now, or upgrades his equipment, he will definitely draw a lot of unwanted attention. He has to be extremely careful, since they are being observed in public. Those spheres are watchers, acting as the eyes of the gods and the Grandmaster. Their appearance might change depending on who controls them, but they usually look quite similar. If these watchers suspect anything unusual, the difficulty of the trials will spike. They will not go easy on him just because he is strong. Instead, they will make things much harder. To prevent this, he has to keep a low profile. A goblin charges him, but he catches its hand easily mid-strike. Instead of landing a quick kill, he acts like he is struggling to survive, hoping they by his weak act. Meanwhile, Jaisu begins reviewing the system rules and player guidelines, slowly starting to make sense of this crazy situation. She quickly realizes that their normal world is gone forever, and those terrifying creatures on screen confirm it, yet she remains unusually calm about everything. Their lives are completely ruined. Still, Sehan remains oddly calm. No sweat, he slaughters monsters with ease, making Jaisu suspicious. Deeply suspicious, but before they can discuss it, a sudden system window alerts them. A glowing system window appears. They must escape the campus within 2 days. Swift attacks are coming. Hordes of goblins will soon begin hunting them. Defeat these monsters or slip past them. Massive rewards are entirely on the line. Prizes will vary. Every player gets paid based on their active contributions. Fight hard, the Game Master urges active participation in this rank E-Quest. With a simple 2-day limit, Sehan expects nothing more than a walk in the park. No time for chatting. He cannot waste seconds talking to Jaisu now. Move fast before they can even blink. The goblins spot their target. Run, Sehan grabs Jaisu by the hand and instantly sprints away before they get caught. They must escape before being torn apart. As they flee, Jaisu watches. Other students get brutally butchered by monsters, but she cannot save everyone. Helping them is impossible. Finally, they slide safely into a secure sanctuary. Jaisu asks about the others. Sehan stays incredibly calm, reassuring her that massive casualties are highly unlikely for now. A standard goblin is only as strong as an average adult human male. Once survivors band together, defending themselves is simple, but then a hobgoblin appears. Right on cue, Sehan reaches the exact destination he wanted from the very start. This is a highly secure sanctuary that he remembers vividly from his own past life. Back then, he was just a crying, completely helpless kid who stumbled upon this place. Barrier blocks all incoming monsters completely, allowing exhausted human survivors to rest up. Chasing goblins soon catch up, slamming their jagged blades uselessly against the barrier. They cannot even scratch the shield. Frustrated, the pack of savage beasts finally gives up and retreats. Right here is a rare haven of absolute perfect safety. They can finally lower their guard. Sehan suggests they camp here for now. Next up, he needs to get Jaisu armed and geared up so she can handle a basic goblin by herself. Meanwhile, elsewhere on campus, terrified students frantically flee from a pack of feral monsters. Suddenly, a figure crashes down right behind them, wiping out every single beast with one brutal swing. Within seconds, the entire pursuing horde lies slaughtered on the bloody concrete floor. Standing there, Zhang Yun recognizes this powerhouse as Jaisu. He is totally stunned, unable to comprehend this madness. It all started 3 hours earlier while she was still safely resting in the sanctuary with Sehan. She stared at her screen, trying to grasp this ruined reality, but Sehan noticed something far more sinister. Unseen eyes are watching. Higher gods view players through observers strictly for their own twisted entertainment. Once they find a survivor who seems exceptionally promising, they sponsor them as an avatar, throwing crazy resources to aid their survival journey. Meanwhile, the absolute game master controls the servers and dishes out quests. The creepy entity watching Sehan and Jaisu right now is Korea's private manager Arcades. To survive, Sehan must play completely dumb and act as boringly weak as possible, hoping the Divine Watcher gets annoyed and leaves. Luckily, the eye flies away. Honestly, that was way too close. He only waited 30 minutes. Talk about having zero patience. Even in the first round, his short temper kept him from becoming top tier. The GM has absolutely zero patience, which actually works out great for Sehan right now. With things settled, Sehan decides to check the community forums to see what is happening. The moment he clicks the button, a brilliant flash of light bursts right before his eyes. Jaisu does not react at all, proving that he is the only one who can see it. It looks just like a web browser, complete with a floating monitor and keyboard. He spots general discussions and guides scattered all over the place. It is basically an exact replica of the typical internet forums back on Earth. There is even a live chat room, and entering it auto-assigns him an anonymous tag. He is dubbed Anonymous User 48, and a user named Greek Boss immediately demands an introduction. Fortunately, he does not actually have to say anything. Other users quickly school the old-timer on why anonymous chats are necessary. The gods chat about their servers and the humans they watch. The discussion eventually shifts over to the active Korean server. They mention that Arades is the GM there, and honestly, they think he is incredibly boring. They find his custom quests pretty dull and uninspired. One god complains about wanting to sponsor a cute girl, only for some guy to ruin it. He dragged her straight into a safe zone. They are definitely talking about Sehan and Jaisu. This chat room, absolute goldmine for gathering crucial intel later on. He might even try to make his own post when the timing is right. While he needs to monitor this daily, right now his eyes are glued to the shop. The shop interface opens up, looking exactly like a massive digital shelf. Many premium items require completed quests, but the quality of everything here is insane. The most critical item is locked behind the main quest, and it looks like a transfer pass. He carefully browses through the rest of the stock on the glowing shelf. Suddenly, one specific item catches his eye and stops him in his tracks. It is a multiplayer package for players who cleared their first run completely solo. This will allow them to play their next round alongside trusted allies. This cube lets him form custom parties, granting members exclusive, powerful benefits. It costs 20,000 points, but for him, that is a drop in the bucket. Still, if everything in this store is this pricey, he has to spend his wealth wisely. Just then, a loud voice cuts through the air, drawing his attention to a nearby crowd. Someone is yelling out, trying desperately to rally a group of survivors together. Survivors are teaming up, meaning those pesky goblins will no longer run the show. Working together, they grab makeshift weapons to force the beasts back. It is incredibly sloppy at first, but they are quickly learning. Slowly but surely, they figure out exactly how to take down the small beasts. Jaisu calls his name, snapping him out of his deep thoughts as he watches them fight. She looks completely ready to jump into action, and he agrees it is time to move. Honestly, her ability to adapt to this absolute madness so quickly is pretty impressive. This makes things easier, but telling her everything right now would just seem suspicious. For now, he needs to focus on his immediate goal of getting her armed. He hands over the crude dagger he looted from his first goblin kill. She accepts the rusty blade, but immediately worries about how he plans to protect himself. Sehan just shrugs it off, telling her he will easily find another weapon soon. He points out that she is the one who needs protection right now. She is stunned by his calm attitude, as he seems completely unfazed by the danger. He always acted pretty strange, but right now, he feels like a totally different person. To make things worse, her new dagger is pretty weak and covered in thick rust. It definitely won't last long, but it should be just enough to keep her safe. Then he hands over a special VIP brooch designed to speed up her recovery. It heals her wounds quickly and boosts her point earnings by 20%. He can't exactly admit he bought it from the secret DLC store, so he spins a lie. He claims it was just a random drop from that goblin he killed, and she buys it. It makes sense to her, since she already knows how video game logic works. In reality, he spent 20,000 points to get a pair of these precious brooches. He bought one for each of them because the DLC store has incredibly unique items. Sure, they cost a fortune compared to normal items, but the benefits are massive. Here's the catch: if you die in this game, you die in the real world. Death is permanent here, no restarts, and absolutely no second chances. So spending 20,000 points to heal faster is a total no-brainer. Plus, boosting their point generation rate makes it an incredibly smart investment. With their gear ready, they step out of the safe zone and continue forward. Like any good game, survival here is all about having the best gear. The stronger their equipment, the better their chances of making it out alive. Walking quietly across the campus, Sehan whispers for her to keep her cool. Defend yourself, that is her main job right now. Meanwhile, game masters from various regions gather to observe and debate their players. One complains that his players did nothing but pray before getting wiped out. In another zone, armed players went absolutely wild, shooting every monster in sight. But Archites does not care. He ignores those ordinary players. Only one specific individual in his entire region has caught his eye. This unique player is a celestial slayer. Back on campus, our duo keeps moving. They do their absolute best to slip past the monsters roaming the halls. Having armed Jaisu with several items, Sehan has a very clear strategy. He wants to neutralize the biggest threat, but first, Jaisu must remember the plan. Gear checked, plan ready, the two finally make their move. They crouch low on a rooftop, below them absolute chaos. A quick nod, then Jaisu takes off toward the enemy. The strategy is simple: find the crowd, find the leader. When Jaisu asks how he can be so sure, he just laughs it off. He reminds her that as a hardcore gamer, these details are common knowledge. To him, goblins act just like basic pack animals. When they gather in large numbers, there is bound to be a boss. That boss is their key target, and they cannot escape until it is dead. The objective: kill the boss. That is Sehan's entire plan. Doing so will clear their path out, but she has to distract the pack first. Her job is to lure the horde away, leaving the boss wide open. To start, she cracks open a bottle of temptation perfume Sehan gave her. This potent liquid is designed to pull in every low-level monster nearby. Within seconds, a massive swarm of bloodthirsty goblins starts heading right for her. Are drawn to one spot, she'll chug an invisibility potion. This drink completely conceals the user for 5 minutes after drinking it. This will clear the area of goblins, keeping her safe while Sehan moves in to defeat the boss monster without concern. She is effectively the bait here. Still, she wondered how on earth he got all these potions, but the plan is already underway. She successfully draws a massive crowd of goblins straight toward her. She just needs the stealth potion to escape danger, but before she can drink it, she spots Zhang Yun and another girl. They are running from a massive horde of goblins, screaming desperately for help. Jizu should focus on her own survival, but she just cannot ignore them. Besides, she remembers Sehan mentioning that the rewards would be much greater if more people survived. Making her choice, she leaps down to help. With swift, deadly strikes, she wipes out the monsters, saving both of them. She notices her body feels incredibly light during the fight, but Jong Yun ruins the moment immediately. His annoying, loud shouting gets on her nerves. Honestly, she wonders if saving him was a mistake he should be thanking her. Not complaining like a child, she glares at him in anger, but suddenly something takes over. Dizziness hits hard and she struggles to breathe. Her body is completely out of control. Jisoo fights with everything. She has to resist this overwhelming, bizarre sensation. She desperately reaches for the potion, but the agonizing pressure is just too powerful. The bottle slips from her hand, crashing down. Only one thought remains. Keep the horde busy so they do not reach Sehan. The monsters close in, trapping her, yet she faces them with a strange, eerie calm. She even smiles at the approaching danger. Meanwhile, Sehan is casually wondering if Jisoo is safe, but honestly, his own situation is far worse. A massive boss monster blocks his path. Sehan stops to study it. He remembers this exact hobgoblin from 10 years ago. It was the beast that wiped out half of his entire campus. The monster does not care about his words, though. It lunges with a devastating fist. Sehan remains completely calm and quickly opens his status window. He dumps his stat points straight into agility. Instantly, he evades the crushing blow, leaping high over the giant beast. The monster looks around in confusion, clueless that Sehan is hovering right above him with a smirk. Then Sehan drops like a meteor, landing hard. He drives a heavy fist straight into the giant eye. It screams in pure agony, clutching its face. Sehan flips back, landing smoothly. He remembers how many lives that massive sword claimed 10 years ago. This time, he won't let history repeat itself. He grabs a huge boulder and dumps 10 more points into his strength. He hurls the heavy stone directly at the beast, which is still staggering. The impact knocks the greatsword skyward. Sehan leaps up, catching the weapon midair. With one clean, blindingly fast slash, he cuts down the creature, cleanly taking off its head. Suddenly, the system interface chimes. A bright blue alert pops up, confirming he cleared the hidden boss. Secret boss. He also gets a reward called the Hobgoblin's Girdle and 500 points. This reward is highly valuable, since it was locked away behind a hidden boss fight. The Hobgoblin's Girdle is an incredible item that boosts his strength by 10 points. Best of all, it bypasses the main quest's standard restrictions completely. This will be incredibly useful, letting him focus on raising other stats later. But time is short. Once the gods discover the secret boss is dead, they will strike. He must get out of here before an observer arrives to investigate. Now his only goal is finding Jisoo and hoping she is still alive. He rushes out of the boss area, searching the vicinity, but finds nothing. The area is completely silent, no sign of Jisoo, and no goblins either. Jisoo had used a stealth potion, meaning the monsters should have wandered back. Instead, the entire zone is vacant. That stealth potion only lasts 5 minutes. A dark thought crosses Sehan's mind. What if she did not survive this? Or maybe he just cleared his own boss battle a bit too quickly. Suddenly, a loud commotion echoing from ahead snaps him right back to reality. A swarm of terrified goblins is running away from something in absolute panic. Sehan wastes no time and darts straight toward the source of their terror. As he gets closer, the thick, metallic stench of fresh blood fills the air. He pushes his pace, desperate to make sure Jisoo does not die again. Arriving at the scene, he finds Jisoo standing in the middle of a clearing. Countless slaughtered beasts lie around her. She has just finished her rampage. At first, the monsters kept charging even as she sliced off their heads. But eventually, even these mindless creatures realized they stood absolutely no chance. As she tore through the goblin horde, a terrifying power took hold of her. Her eyes glowed with a menacing red light, looking entirely possessed. As Sehan finally reaches her side, Jisoo collapses heavily onto her knees. That ominous red glow fades from her eyes. How did she kill so many? She weakly explains that she spotted 2 fleeing students while drawing the horde away. She had no choice but to step in and protect them from the beasts. Nearby, those very 2 students are lying completely passed out on the dirt. They likely fainted from pure shock, but at least they are alive. Jisoo assumes the goblins scared them, but Sehan suspects a different truth. It was almost certainly Jisoo's own terrifying aura that knocked them unconscious. Seriously, what is going on with her? Sehan asks to inspect her status. He scans her stats, finding them above average, but nothing seems too wild. But then one highly unusual detail instantly catches his attention. Sitting right there in her menu is a blood-red passive skill. It is called Celestial Slayer, an unbelievably rare trait that triggers automatically. In his entire past life, Sehan had only ever seen this power once. It belonged to a legendary warrior known back then as the Blood Demon. That man's name was Jin, and he was an absolute monster in combat. He used mystical martial arts from his home world to butcher terrifying beasts. Meeting him was unforgettable, an otherworldly martial master of pure destruction. Now Jisoo has unlocked that exact same passive trait. This explains exactly why those goblins were fleeing in terror. Lose control, and those Celestial Slayer powers will drive her completely mad. For now, Jisoo seems perfectly fine and completely in control of herself. But Sehan has to keep a close eye on her. She needs an explanation first. Keeping her in the dark about her own powers just feels wrong to him. Still, he keeps it brief, sharing only the essentials of how the trait works. He explains that her physical strength spikes the more blood she witnesses around her. She immediately tests the theory, staring down at her blood-soaked dagger. It triggers instantly. Her eyes slowly wash over with a deep crimson glow. That terrifying bloodlust starts creeping back, so Sehan quickly snatches the blade away. That snaps her out of it, and he warns her against overusing this dangerous trait. It is a terrifying skill, but starting out with this level of power is massive. Even after that brutal clash, her body is completely free of any injuries. It turns out her Celestial Slayer passive healing is working alongside the brooch. This combo grants her a ridiculously fast recovery rate. Talk about a cheat code, Jisoo is proving to be incredibly special. Seeing all this potential, Sehan decides to pitch a formal contract to her. She gets the wrong idea entirely and blushes hard before he can clarify. He laughs it off, explaining he just wants to team up as party members. Thanks to gaming, she gets the concept and happily agrees to the invite. With his first ally secured, Sehan buys the multiplayer expansion from the shop. He sends over the invite, and as the connection forms, he spots a major perk. Party members can actually share traits, unlocking a whole new level of synergy. If he plays this right, he will easily surpass his past life strength. Opening his menu, he realizes he does not have any shareable skills yet. To share a skill, he actually needs to offer one up in return. It functions as a proper trade, rather than a simple one-way handout. He recalls a specific skill from his first run that would suit her perfectly. But for now, he will have to put this plan on hold. Coping with the Celestial Slayer trait himself right now is just too risky. Just then, the observers finally show up on the scene. The gods must have realized their precious hobgoblin was just put down. Luckily, nobody witnessed him land the final blow, keeping things nice and simple. With that out of the way, they need to wrap up this quest. Right on cue, Jongyun groans back to life and immediately starts whining. He points fingers at Jisoo, though she honestly prefers his anger over his flirting. Sehan cuts right through the noise, demanding to know why they are even here. Jongyun tries to brush him off with a few pathetic insults. But a cold blade pressed firmly against his throat quickly shuts him up. It is Jisoo, and her frozen stare makes it clear she will kill him. If he steps out of line even slightly, she is ready to end him. Naturally, Jongyun sings a completely different tune with steel against his skin. Suddenly, he is more than cooperative, eager to answer any of Sehan's questions. It seems this fierce, unapologetic side is Jisoo's true personality showing through. Jongyun explains that he and his classmate were ordered to scout the grounds. If trouble found them, one would sacrifice themselves while the other escaped to report. Detailed strategies suggest a highly organized leader is currently calling the shots. Jongyun would never go scouting alone. He tries to argue back, but the cold blade returns to his throat, forcing him to confess everything. He drew the short straw. Someone is actively uniting survivors to battle the goblins, calmly guiding a terrified crowd. This mysterious leader must possess immense tactical intelligence and impressive leadership skills to pull this off. In his past life, everyone was wiped out, making escape a far better choice than fighting them. Sehan tells Jongyun to take them straight to this mysterious mastermind, who is gathering survivors. Jongyun tries to protest once more, but another weapon is aimed at his throat, and Jisoo is not holding it. Instead, a wild goblin holds the blade and charges. Sehan easily grabs the monster's wrist, crushing its life out instantly and leaving Jongyun completely stunned. Goblins always hunt the weakest prey first. The simple fact that they Targeted him tells Jong Yun everything he needs to know about his own power. With that clear warning, Sehan asks again if he will act as their guide or stay behind alone, as Jong Yun finally leads them toward the hideout. Sehan observes the grim destruction and mounting bodies scattered across the campus. Back in his previous life, he was desperately running for safety too. Saved only by a safe zone he stumbled upon, after walking for some time. Sehan demands to know their exact destination. Jong Yun is leading them to the campus gym, which is secure. Inside, dozens of terrified students and teachers still huddle. Many are severely injured from the brutal monster invasion, yet their capable leader successfully guided everyone to safety, despite being just as terrified as the rest. To pull this off, the mastermind must be level-headed, highly reliable, and possess an excellent reputation. Only a select few students fit this description, but one familiar name instantly stands out. Sehan correctly deduces that the student council president is running this operation and dispatched Jong Yun to scout. The president, Jong Yun, is remarkably smart, popular, and a natural-born leader. The gods are bound to take interest in him, judging by the massive crowd of observers watching his every move. They likely view him as a prime potential avatar, though he originally met his end against a terrifying hobgoblin. His current actions prove he has no idea that staying inside this building guarantees death. He has not officially become a contractor yet. Still, given the high number of celestial observers, he has surely been bombarded with contract offers by now. He remains rightfully cautious, unsure who to trust. Just then, Jong Yun spots the group containing the student council president and quickly runs over to meet them. He instantly recognizes Jaisu and tries to say hello, but Sehan quickly blocks him. They need to evacuate the dangerous campus immediately. Unlike Jaisu, however, Jong Yun has no idea who Sehan is, making him highly skeptical of the warning. Sehan explains that the hobgoblin boss is dead, meaning everyone received the system notification confirming its defeat. With their supreme commander gone, the remaining monsters are in total disarray, completely lost without any sudden direction. This is their perfect window of opportunity to escape. Survival is only the first step, not the ultimate goal, but he cannot explain further with countless unseen observers keeping a close watch on them, so to prove that argument holds up, he points directly to the timer ticking down on their mission screen. Right now it shows 37 hours. If they do not escape before that limit, things get ugly. From their talk, Sehan realizes that Jong Yun has only basic, beginner-level knowledge about everything. That means the student president is not one of the chosen ones yet. If Sehan can convince him to lead the group out, it will make things much easier. Plus, with the hobgoblin dead, fewer people are dying right now. But that also means the observing gods will soon start losing interest. If things get too easy, they will get bored and trigger crazy events. Keeping those celestial watchers entertained is the real challenge in this twisted survival game. Now that they know the hobgoblin is dead, the show is officially over for them. Because of this, Jong Yun decides they have to act and act fast. They still cannot get any signal to contact the outside world. They can still browse the internet for clues, but making calls for rescue is impossible. Honestly, seeing how sharp Jong Yun is, it is weird that he died so early before. In the original timeline, a capable leader like him was wiped out almost instantly. Back then, nobody in the gym managed to build a real escape plan. This proves that Sehan's presence has completely rewritten the script this time around. In the past life, the monsters just slaughtered everyone who tried to hide. Sehan used to think this leader was just a coward, but he was completely wrong. Just as they are talking, another voice suddenly cuts into their conversation. The speaker insists that their best option is to just sit tight and wait. Hearing that voice sends a chill down Sehan's spine. He knows this guy all too well. It is Dong Hun Park, a toxic face he could never forget even if he tried. In his previous life, this absolute snake stabbed Sehan in the back multiple times. Dong Hun smoothly tries to convince Jong Yun that running away is a terrible mistake. But the president is not buying it anymore. There is simply no logic in waiting around. Not backing down, Dong Hun fires back, accusing the leader of playing with people's lives. That heavy accusation hits home, making Jong Yun hesitate and second-guess his own plan. Seeing this guy again, instantly, Sehan pieces together how the original disaster unfolded. This guy already knows exactly how the system works and how to play it. Turning his attention to Sehan, Dong-hun proudly introduces himself as the student council's vice president. He makes a fair point, reminding everyone that half their group is already injured. Moving those wounded out into the open would basically be a death sentence. He mockingly assumes Sehan only got brave because of a few lucky monster kills. So he doubles down on his warning, saying they must stay put. According to him, the only smart move is waiting for the police to rescue them. On paper, it sounds logical. If anyone else said it, Sehan might actually agree. But Sehan is not falling for it. He knows exactly what this guy is. Dong-hun is a selfish parasite who would never help anyone unless it benefited him first. In the first run, he was a total psychopath who loved watching groups self-destruct. Watching people panic and die from within was basically his favorite form of entertainment. A twisted monster like him does not have a single ounce of care for the majority. But Sehan is determined. He will not let this psychopath run the show again. Meanwhile, Ju has been keeping quiet, but her temper is finally starting to flare. She is furious that Dong-hun is dismissing their life-or-death struggle as mere luck. Dong-hun is skeptical they killed any monsters. Ju offers to take him outside to show him exactly how she did it. Still, Dong-hun hesitates, so Jaisu shows him proof right on her phone. Waiting is foolish. They are just acting out of fear, and help is not coming. The authorities are gone. Nobody knows when. Dong-hun still tries to protest, arguing that the others will never agree to just escape, but Sehan suggests leaving behind anyone who objects. There is no need to convince everyone right away. If people choose to ignore the warning and stay, then that is on them. But if Dong-hun really understood the danger, then he would never choose to stay. His real goal is to get everyone in the auditorium killed to boost his own reward through a massive body count. This is the exact opposite of Sehan's plan to rack up points by saving everyone instead. Plus, staying behind alone would make Sehan look very suspicious. That kind of suspicion would be far worse than any small reward gained from killing a few people. Yang Yun heard everyone's ideas and chose to follow Sehan's lead to escape the campus. Dong-hun has no other option but to follow along, proving his entire helpless act was just a lie. He fully understood how this deadly game operated. It seemed Dong-hun was already chosen as a god's avatar. Meanwhile, Yang Yun begins trying to persuade the other students to escape. The scout team and Sehan provide crucial intel. Monsters still swarm outside, but they are completely disorganized. Without their leader, still, some students loudly protest against the escape plan. One teacher even warns Yang Yun that acting recklessly will get them killed. As if grades or school credit even matter right now, it is mind-blowing how someone so clueless ever became a professor. Finally, the students gear up. With makeshift weapons preparing to fight their way out, Jaisu asks Sehan if they truly have to leave this way. He is confident they will be fine unless something unexpected happens. She does not quite grasp what he means by unexpected trouble. Luckily, the goblins are not a threat without their chief. The real threat is Dong-hun, the god's avatar. Too many eyes are watching them, otherwise Sehan would have killed Dong-hun right now. As they move through the campus, goblins begin to surround them. Yang Yun orders everyone to stay tight. The beasts will not strike unless someone wanders off. His solid leadership keeps the crowd moving steadily toward the main gates, but their nightmare is far from over. Just as they reach the exit, a terrifying system alert flashes before them. The quest difficulty has jumped from E rank to D rank. Sentinels are now entering the stage. Suddenly, the entire ground begins to shake violently like an earthquake is hitting. Then, a massive minotaur towers directly in front of the terrified students. It stands frozen, but its sheer presence alone instantly crushes their fleeting hope. The game master has unleashed a monster that players normally would not face until the 15th quest. This beast was dropped directly on rookie players, while hidden bosses like the hobgoblin can be managed. They have unleashed a monster that ordinary players stand absolutely zero chance of defeating together. Unwinnable scenarios. Games love using them to make players suffer. Dropping one here makes it clear that the system wants people to die. But since this is just the first quest, the Sentinel must have some limits. It is a C-class monster, but its stats do not exceed normal boundaries. The other students panic. How can they defeat such a beast? Dongyuan gets ready to scream at the crowd to run away. Jaisu quickly slaps her hand over his mouth, cutting him off. If they sprint, the monster charges. Panic would kill them all. Unfortunately, Donghyun is not the only person who wants to run. One student snaps. He bolts away, shouting for the rest to follow. A few run after him. Others find themselves frozen in pure terror. It looks like the monster's roar inflicts a severe fear effect. Honestly, that fear is the only thing keeping them from getting killed. But for the foolish runners, there is absolutely no saving them now. The Minotaur catches up in a second, easily throwing them aside. Even that grade-obsessed professor gets caught in the rampage. The monster's fist rips him apart. This beast is easily 5 meters tall. It tears human bodies to shreds with its bare hands. Escape is impossible. Running is clearly not the answer against a powerhouse like this. While Hung Yun hesitates, Sehan calmly steps forward to take charge. Someone has to act as bait so the others can escape. He volunteers. Hung Yun tells him it is far too risky. But no one else is offering, and standing still means death. The group cannot wait around for the monster to slaughter them. You have to respect how calm Sehan is in this nightmare. He makes quick, logical moves, showing a level head. His strategic mind far surpasses Hung Yun's. Jaisu still holds Donghyun's mouth shut. She watches in suspense as Sehan slowly approaches the Minotaur. She worries for a second, but he waves back to show he has a plan. Trusting him, she finally releases the annoying, powerless vice president. Donghyun takes a second to catch his breath and rub his face. He wanted to steal the glory, but things have gone completely sideways. He knows when to quit. The Minotaur is simply too much to handle. He must retreat now, knowing he can complete other quests later. Sehan readies his move, grabbing a red cloth to distract the beast. Hung Yun doubtfully wonders how much time Sehan can actually buy them. But with no other options, Hung Yun bows deeply to thank him. This dramatic sacrifice routine actually makes our main character pretty nervous. Sehan gets ready to draw the beast by waving the cloth. Once the Minotaur locks onto him, he screams for them to run. Hung Yun shouts directions, ordering everyone to head for the entrance. They run like crazy and make it to the exit safely. Hung Yun unlocks a commanding shout skill while Sehan baits the beast. He easily dodges its strikes, forcing the monster to crash into walls. Thanks to his evasion, the rest of the group successfully escapes. The students quickly escape the campus grounds, completing the quest in the nick of time. They stop to check on each other. A few are bruised, but everyone is alive. With the group safe, Hyung Yun immediately turns back to rescue Sehan. But a solid barrier shuts him out, blocking any return to the battle arena. Unable to cross, he frantically yells for Sehan to run while he still can. Sehan hears the shouts and turns to reply, but the Minotaur seizes the moment. The beast lands a devastating punch, sending the young man crashing into a wall. Without hesitation, the monster lunges forward, slamming into Sehan with brutal impact. The onlookers watch in absolute horror. They honestly believe their friend is dead. As they stare, the glowing barrier completely seals shut, ending any hope of rescue. Hyung Yun quietly apologizes to Jaisu, who also witnessed the entire tragic scene. But she just stares blankly at the battlefield, showing absolutely no emotion. Miraculously, Sehan is still breathing. He waits silently beneath the heavy concrete rubble. He just waits for the others to leave. Honestly, in his past life, he was no saint. In fact, he was incredibly selfish, always putting his own safety before anyone else. That is why he felt so awkward when Hyung Yun thanked him so passionately earlier. Back then, he was weak, surrounded by gifted players with far greater talent. He did whatever it took to survive, forcing himself to stay cold and heartless. But now, returned to the very beginning, he has a completely different perspective. He wants to choose a different path. Maybe this time he can be a hero. Once he is absolutely sure no one is watching, he boldly taunts the beast. Minotaur looks visibly stunned that this puny human survived that fatal impact. But right before that massive fist connected, Sehan made a critical, split-second decision. He dumped all his points to max out his health stat, barely managing to endure. Taking that massive blow head-on confirmed exactly what Sehan had suspected from the start. Minotaur's combat stats are locked at a maximum of rank level 100. These sentinels are normally built to be completely unbeatable for any ordinary player. During his previous life, he would have run away from such a threat without hesitation. If forced to fight, he only cared about surviving, using any dirty trick possible. Other lives meant absolutely nothing to him, as long as he drew his next breath. But this time, he is ready to stand his ground. Watch as he braces for impact. Heavy hooves tear up the concrete as the giant monster storms right toward him. Right before impact, Sehan spends his remaining points to max out his strength stat. Thanks to a hidden item he got earlier, he can actually shatter that limit. Facing the beast head-on, he grabs the charging monster directly by its massive horns. He equips the hobgoblin's girdle, boosting his strength by an extra 10 points. This bonus completely breaks past the regular limits imposed by the system. Now Sehan possesses raw physical strength that actually eclipses the Minotaur itself. He snaps off one of its giant horns with ease. The wounded monster stumbles back, and Sehan immediately leaps high into the air. He delivers a devastating flying kick to its face, sending the massive beast flying. In his previous life, he was a completely selfish player who always went solo. Just an ordinary guy with zero special talents. What he has pulled off here would have been absolutely impossible back then, but now he is determined to change. Having crushed the Minotaur, Sehan officially completes the first main trial. He finally reaches the platinum tier, but the rank feels a bit disappointing. He helped everyone escape, offered himself as bait, and defeated the hidden boss. He took down the Sentinel completely alone. Platinum is the absolute highest rank, but still. Honestly, you can't blame him for feeling a bit cheated by this result. Now he can only wait for his rewards, hoping for a weapon or a useful skill. He would gladly accept any reward, as long as it is not experience points or consumables. A protective barrier finally opens as he gets ready to leave the dungeon. He is shocked to find Jaisu waiting right outside, a pleasant surprise, right? He assumed she left with the others, but she stayed behind out of concern. Jaisu already knew he was completely fine, even though the others thought him dead. Ever since they formed a party, she has been able to view his active stats. Her system window proved he was perfectly healthy, even after the Minotaur strike. She knew he was just pretending to lose, and she wanted to respect his choice. He prefers to stay in the shadows, so she did not ruin his act, asking his rank instead. He got platinum while she secured gold, which is the second highest tier. Silver represents the third tier, while bronze is the lowest, making gold highly impressive. Yet platinum stands far above it. Now all remaining players have cleared the quest. As the survivors receive their rewards, he earns a special new achievement. He gains the self-sacrifice title, along with bonus points for defeating the Sentinel. Beating the hidden boss rewards him with a rare item called Adaptive Orichalcum. He also receives 2 upgradable skills, starting with the ability called Final Hour. His second skill is Regeneration, which will definitely prove highly useful. These are likely bonus rewards for hunting monsters and being the first to beat a Sentinel. Skills with upgrade potential hold massive value for his long-term survival. They grow much stronger over time, but it is a pity he missed out on an S-tier skill. He wanted something like Jaisu's Celestial Slayer, but there is no time to ponder. The system alert for their second quest is already popping up before them. They must travel straight to the Loom World Tower and slay the primary boss. This C-rank quest comes with a strict 2-day time limit, perfectly mirroring his past playthrough. This makes it far easier to predict exactly how the events will unfold. At this stage, most players are bound to receive the exact same mission. That rule applies directly to both Jaisu and Dongyuan's entire group of survivors. While the others headed straight to the Loom World Tower, Jaisu chose to wait. She absolutely hated being around Dongyuan, sensing a highly unsettling vibe from him. She likely already suspected he was hiding some kind of dark, ulterior motive. Armed with incredible instincts and her Celestial Slayer ability, she is a force. She could have easily been a legendary player if she had survived her past life. Whether acting as a renowned hero or a villain, she would have been highly famous. Oddly enough, absolutely no cosmic watchers seem to be observing her right now. He asks her if she has become an avatar yet, and she tells him no. This is highly unusual, as the gods always promise major perks to their avatars. Jaisu explains that she simply has no interest in serving an unseen master. Serving some invisible, floating cosmic entity just feels far too unsettling for her taste. She remains remarkably calm, making it hard to tell if her Celestial Slayer power is affecting her mind, since she shows absolutely no signs of losing control. Even the blood demon from his past life struggled to purge that madness. Left behind by the Celestial Slayer, yet she received 12 avatar requests. That proves her massive value. Still, she flat out rejected every single one. But she is with him now. Since they are linked, he must teach her. Otherwise, she might become a god's puppet. Her first lesson is a special art. It is a rare combat style only celestial slayers can master. They call it the Crimson Usura. Sehan never learned it in his past life. He was no celestial slayer back then, only hearing rumors of these arts. This strange combat style only became known to him after meeting the blood demon. Martial arts cannot be upgraded, making them incredibly rare and tough to learn. Though he ignored them before, but now Jaisu completely shatters his expectations. Under his watchful eye, Jaisu masterfully absorbs the incredible technique. This is great long-term, but her learning pace is wildly inconsistent. Just hours earlier, they were walking through the ruined streets of their city. Sehan wanted to test the brand new abilities gained from his first quest. The first skill is Final Hour, boosting his offensive power and survivability. Since it is upgradable, it will only grow stronger over time. His second skill is Regeneration, a passive ability unlike Final Hour. Combine that healing factor with his VIP perks and Celestial Slayer buffs. Most wounds heal instantly. Soon, both Jaisu and Sehan equip their brooches. They sweep the area clean of monsters, collecting a massive pile of points. Then Sehan decides to take her somewhere quiet to share their skills. Finding an empty, abandoned cafe, they sit down to swap abilities. Sehan hands over his regeneration, and Jaisu shares her Celestial Slayer power. While Final Hour is decent, rapid healing will be far more useful. However, because they are merely trading skills, the overall effectiveness drops. The power output of these shared skills falls to just 30%. Luckily, deep friendship can reduce this penalty. Talk about a power couple. Better yet, shared skills do not transfer any negative drawbacks. He won't get the full celestial boost, but he bypasses the insanity. Jaisu is not too thrilled about getting basic regeneration. She wanted an offensive skill, but Sehan strongly disagrees. To him, rapid healing is the ultimate tool for attacking. Good endurance means she can focus entirely on fighting without fearing injuries. Dodging isn't vital when her body can mend itself instantly. She can use that saved dodging time to strike back instead. Hearing this, she reconsiders and starts to appreciate the skill. She values it much more now. Next, they must choose where to go. The second quest has a very generous time limit, allowing them prep time. He wants to gather skills while training her. Jaisu is grateful. But she is also deeply confused by Sehan's sudden kindness. The Sehan she knew was entirely selfish. Still, free skills are great. So she does not argue. Soon, he teaches her the Crimson Usura. Amazingly, she masters the deadly art at a breakneck speed. While she trains, Sehan decides to check the Divine Community boards. The chat is way busier than before. A specific name grabs his attention. It is a god named An Honest Life, and this particular deity is someone he remembers all too well from his past playthrough. This god is also Dongyuan Park's sponsor, making both of them incredibly annoying to Sehan. Sehan notices that Hung Yun has been watching Dongyuan very closely. Because of this, Dongyuan will not get nearly as many first-run rewards. Aside from that drama, the rest of the chat is just casual chatter. A user named Young Jester grumbles that her avatar is a complete failure. Wasting great abilities on robbing a bank, Sehan plays naive and successfully. Convinces Young Jester to let him look through her observer. She invites him over and he teleports right there in person to meet her. Still, his face remains hidden because his profile is set to private. Inside this strange room, he meets Young Jester, who shows him her feed. On the screen, a young man who looks like a police officer kneels down to speak with a girl hiding in a highly dangerous spot. He tries to act gentle, but she screams and panics, trying to run away. This is exactly what Sehan wanted to see. One of the people on the screen is the key he needs for Lam Tower and the secret to defeating the boss. Waiting inside, Sehan returns to the real world to meet Jaisu. They begin heading towards the location he saw on Young Jester's observer screen. Luckily, no observers are around this area, making it a safe path. But it also means they will find barely any survivors around. As they walk, Jaisu points out that the streets are way dirtier than expected. She blames the monsters, but humans actually did most of this damage. Honestly, Sehan saw this exact same ugliness in his past life. Monsters actually have no interest in ruining empty buildings, with zero laws. No police or military around, people loot and destroy everything. Even with this chaotic game, civilization is somehow still hanging on. Surprisingly, television networks are still broadcasting, reporting on all the bizarre incidents happening globally. Still, the system will never let human governments remain in peace for long. Suddenly, a sneaky goblin tries to creep up on Jai-Su from behind. Luckily, she reacts fast enough to take it down before it can strike, but her dull blade sprays gross blood all over her, making her crave a much better weapon. One shot was all it took, but she still wants something more lethal. She wants a real upgrade. The Celestial Slayer trait only gives a 30% boost to Sehan, but it gives Jai-Su a full 100%. She is insanely powerful, even though they only just finished stage 1. Since she is looking for gear, Sehan offers to help her find one. After tracking down the exact person he needs, they finally arrive at their actual destination, a bank. They are not here for cash since money is completely worthless in this ruined world. There is nothing left to buy anyway. Instead, the crucial target they need for stage 2 is hiding inside. And once inside, absolute chaos reigns as desperate people fight and rob each other. Inside the bank, complete chaos erupts as desperate crowds loot the place. Sehan spots a cop through Jester's observer, and he acts fast. He does his absolute best to protect the hostages, confronting the heavily armed robbers head-on. As the crowd flees, the officer leaps at an unsuspecting robber. The criminal tries to slash back with a blade, but the officer reacts instantly. With a swift strike, he disarms the robber before delivering a brutal knee strike. The blow sends him flying, just as another attacker sneaks up from behind. Spinning around, he drops the guy with a single, devastating punch to the gut. Just like that, the threat is cleared. He took them down way too easily. Outside, Sehan and Jai-Su watch the entire fight. Sehan immediately realizes something. This cop is exactly who they are looking for, but how did he overpower them? A high-level item could explain it, but it is far more likely he is another avatar. He has a god backing him. Suddenly, the officer spots Sehan watching from afar. Gesturing for them both to come over, he begins to speak quite sternly. He warns them to clear out and stay far away because the entire area is incredibly dangerous. But Sehan does not budge. He flatly tells the man he is only here for him. Calling him by his true name, Mina Lei, instantly catches the officer completely off guard. Stunned that Sehan knows her secret identity, the cop takes a 10-step back. The officer tries to play it off, claiming his name is Jeoncheol Nam instead. But Jai-Su is not buying it. She grabs his arm, checking his racing pulse. He is clearly sweating under pressure, proving to her that this is all a lie. His sharp reaction to Sehan's words didn't escape Jai-Su's keen senses. Realizing the act is up, the officer drops the fake persona and demands answers. Sehan simply replies that they are people who already know exactly who he is. The cop's voice shifts entirely, dropping any remaining pretense of being an innocent officer. As things get tense, a strange observer floats down to watch them closely. This one looks completely different from any observer Sehan has ever encountered before. Now that her cover is blown, the player finally drops the disguise entirely. Her true body shifts back, revealing that this burly cop is actually Mina Lee. She's not some middle-aged man, but a high school girl who planned this perfectly. By knocking the real officer out cold, she easily stole his uniform. Her scheme was supposed to go off without a hitch, until Sehan ruined everything. Annoyed, she demands to know exactly why they are looking for her, claiming she is busy. Of course, her definition of being busy is pulling off a massive bank heist. Her unique talent lets her shapeshift into any person or thing she wants. Sehan can never explain how he possesses this future knowledge, and luckily, Jai-Su is silent. But the real mystery is how he knew she was actually planning a robbery. On the surface, she looked like a hero, protecting innocent lives from the chaos. She wore that uniform so everyone would follow her orders without a single doubt. But get this, she actually lured the robbers to the bank herself. The local survivors had packed the bank to escape monsters, ruining her plans to rob it. So she masterfully tricked a gang of bandits into attacking the building instead. If they kept raiding the place, the terrified survivors would eventually flee. Once the vault was clear of crowds, she planned to eliminate the annoying robbers. With everyone gone, she would easily make off with all the cash herself. In his past life, Sehan knew Mina and Dongwon as the absolute top. Manipulators, having dealt with their kind countless times, he saw through her instantly. With her scheme thoroughly ruined, Mina accepted her defeat. She asked if They would hand her over to the cops, but real authority was basically dead by now. Besides, she was confident she could break out of any cell. But for now, Sehan wanted her to tag along. He needed her to stick around until they cleared their second mission. Mina was shocked they were only on round 2. She had already finished hers. Suddenly, her entire attitude flipped completely. Instantly, she looked down on them, thinking they were weak. This was clearly her real, nasty self, but Sehan gained nothing if she looked down on him. It was time for some heavy-handed discipline. First, he flicked her forehead, sending her launching backward like a ragdoll. That simple move instantly struck absolute terror into her heart. After all, his stats were well above F rank. He was easily the most overpowered person on Earth right now. But Mina was not about to take that lying down. She retaliated, throwing a fierce punch straight at Sehan. Instantly, Jaisu flashed right beside him. She stopped the fist dead. Just like Sehan, Jaisu wielded terrifying power. She pinned the girl down effortlessly as Mina desperately tried to break free. She attempted to shapeshift, but Jaisu crushed her wrist, shattering her concentration. The magic died instantly. Once Jaisu asserted dominance like that, Mina completely lost any desire to run. Fear was a powerful motivator. So she fell in line and agreed to cooperate. Leaving the bank behind, they headed to their next target, while young Jester's invisible observer closely trailed them. Witnessing their strength, Mina started acting incredibly polite and respectful, but Sehan just told her to speak normally. Then she learned they weren't even avatars. How could they be so strong? She overlooked one massive detail. Being a high-tier avatar doesn't mean you are stronger than a regular player. Gear is what truly matters. Good stats aren't everything. It's the powerful gear that seals the deal. With the world in ruins, finding gear was nearly impossible, yet Sehan already had a foolproof solution. He led the girls into a safe zone, though Mina instantly doubted how he knew about it. Her suspicion was totally logical, since the place only showed signs of human looting, with 0 monster tracks. Monsters obviously do not steal canned food. Clearly, beasts could not breach this sanctuary. Once inside, Sehan decided to reveal a hidden feature of the system. Not even a god's avatar had access to this, a secret, hidden shop. Mina gasped in absolute shock. Surely, young Jester could have warned her. Being a god, Jester understood the value of gear, but the truth was, she was a total sadist. There was no way she would ever give her avatar an easy pass. Playing dumb, Sehan lied and said he stumbled onto the place by sheer luck. There was no point overthinking it. With the shop open, they had to choose the most optimal survival gear. Unfortunately, most listings were basic items, meaning nothing was overpowered. Even worse, healing potions were completely out of stock, which meant survival was going to be a brutal grind. The developers wanted to make this death game as agonizingly difficult as possible, but still, players eventually learned to craft their own weapons, making this temporary setback meaningless. Right now, finding high-tier gear is impossible, so he decides to be satisfied with these starter items. He picks out a decent armor set and some gear for himself before purchasing another set for Jaisu. He hands her a chest plate to protect her vital spots when she straps it on. Since she has 0 points of her own, he covers the cost to boost her survival chances. Next up, she has to pick a weapon. The shop offers 4 distinct categories of armaments, including swords, spears, bows, and blunt options. After looking them over, she chooses a heavy mace. This works perfectly because her Crimson Usura class can weaponize literally anything, meaning her choice is highly flexible. Plus, a mace is far easier for a novice to handle than a sword or spear. Meanwhile, Mina just stands there silently, watching Sehan and Jaisu browse through the gear. She secretly hopes Sehan will buy something for her too, but he has no plans to. Honestly, she dug her own grave by rejecting his points earlier out of pride. Now she cannot afford a single piece of gear even if she wanted to. Every item costs 200 points, which is way beyond her empty pockets. Once they suit up, the 3 of them make their way toward the coordinates of the second quest. They easily clear out monsters along the road. Sehan wields a reliable sword, which he upgraded using the orichalcum reward from his very first quest. This mystical ore is incredibly versatile, able to shift between solid and liquid forms. To coat his gear, once the coating is removed, it reverts right back to its original shape, ready to be reshaped and recycled endlessly. That means his blades can reach terrifying levels of sharpness, since orichalcum is the Strongest metal known, it boosts durability without adding a single gram of weight. Eventually, the group arrives at Lam Tower, the designated site for their next challenge. The surrounding area looks completely ordinary, honestly, without the system notifications. You would never guess a deadly quest is active here. Their objective involves slaying the second stage boss, which is totally different from Mina's previous trial. Her scenario was a brutal battle royale where only one survivor walked out alive. By comparison, their escape quest seemed like a walk in the park, but still, they would have perished without Chan stepping in to save them. Up ahead, 2 sentries are guarding the tower entrance. The trio hides behind a ruined wall, keeping a close eye on their movements. The guards are highly alert. Even with no monsters around, they remain on guard, likely searching for other players to block them from entering the tower. This high level of security makes sense if their mission is competitive. Just like Mina's old test, now that they are here, she has to pull her weight. They order her to use her shape-shifting ability to gather intel on the enemy. Mina tries to argue against the dangerous plan, but she quickly realizes that refusal is not an option. Slipping away from the group, she stealthily approaches a blind spot along the outer wall, waiting for the perfect opening. The moment their attention drifts, she strikes, grabbing one of the guards and knocking him cold before he can even react, whisks the guard out of the way. She activates her shape-shifting power to morph into him. Suddenly, his partner notices the sudden silence. Mina steps out from the shadows with her hands raised. She tries to blend in, moving extremely stiffly to avoid any unwanted attention. Clumsy work, yet she slips into the building completely undetected. Meanwhile, other players ascend the tower stairs, pushing toward the peak. They climb for ages, finally approaching the massive boss room door. Flinging the door open, they face a colossal beast far beyond their leg. The monster awakens, roaring the very instant they step inside. It immediately attacks, giving them zero time to react. They stand absolutely no chance. Panic quickly takes over the entire squad. They scramble to run, but the beast ruthlessly hunts them down. They drop like flies. Not a single person can outrun the carnage. Talk about an absolute nightmare. The last survivors scramble toward the exit. Suddenly, the beast coils its massive body, sealing their only escape. The door is blocked. They are trapped in a dead end. Within seconds, the remaining players are wiped out in a devastating defeat. Elsewhere, Mina successfully gathers all the vital intel they need. She tracked the guards right to the building's highest floor. The boss is terrifying, but the real issue lies in the rules. Only players from the exact same starting area can enter together. This means 2 separate teams are currently racing for the kill. However, only one team can actually walk away with the completed quest. With a brutal failure penalty, neither side is going to back down. Unfortunately, the rival team arrived first, securing the advantage. The late arrivals seized the subway, guarded by Zhang Yunlei. He is completely shocked to find out Sehan is still alive. Guiding them through the subway tunnels, they head to the main base. Zhang Yun acts surprisingly humble after witnessing Sehan fight the Sentinel. Now Sehan's top priority is meeting the student council president. They step inside the base, immediately drawing a crowd of onlookers. People whisper constantly, recognizing him as the guy who fought the miner. An eager crowd gathers, incredibly curious about Sehan's sudden return. Even Mina struggles to believe he defeated a sentinel all alone. She doubts it at first, questioning how such a feat is possible. One look at his face tells her he is being totally honest. Just then, Zhang Yun rushes over to give him a big, friendly hug. After a quick chat, they discuss the critical Loam Tower situation. They are hiding underground because they missed the first quest deadline. This intel perfectly aligns with the detailed report Mina just brought. Now they must defeat the boss before the top team can. To get there, fighting other players is an absolute must. Right now, they simply lack the power to face them directly. But Sehan is already formulating a plan to drag them down. There is only one boss, and the stakes could not be higher. If 2 groups compete, the losing side faces a brutal penalty. And the ultimate penalty for failing a quest is instant death. Sehan asks if the other team even knows about the stage boss. Since they are the ones claiming the boss is at the peak, Yong Yun confirms that the other team indeed located the beast first and reported its location on the roof. Hearing this, Sehan proposes they allow the rival team to climb first if they are already up there. They can try to defeat the boss, but Sehan refuses to let his own companions just sit around and die. The truth is simple. That beast on the roof might not be the real boss at all. It is way too strong for a regular monster, Yungyun soft-footed, depicting a genuinely horrifying creature. Plus, upon entering this cursed tower, they received an official boss stage notification, yet they checked every single floor without finding another threat. But here is the catch. They completely missed the underground level during their sweep of the building. And remember, a genuine boss always gathers its own loyal minions. Yet that monster on the roof is entirely alone. It makes no sense. Meanwhile, an enemy scout scrambles back to report to his boss. Yungyun and his party have arrived, ready to initiate a negotiation. This time they brought Sehan along. Before making their move, they agreed that only Yungyun, Sehan, and a few allies would speak directly with the rival faction. Surprisingly, Dongwon tags along with them. This is incredibly weird, since he openly doubted Sehan's judgment earlier. But Dongwon is a pure opportunist, switching sides for quick gain. The guy has a sharp brain despite being total trash. Sehan plans to use him as a tool later. Yungyun, however, voices deep anxiety about meeting this crowd. He points out their history, noting they are savage criminals mixed in with hostages. In Sehan's past life, dozens of powerful guilds ruled Korea. One group stood out for its sheer brutality, a legendary force, formed by vicious convicts who escaped prison the moment the apocalypse hit. They slaughtered innocent survivors without hesitation to secure their own goals. The world called them the Sins, and the monster behind them is their supreme boss, Juhun Kim. Right now, he looks down at Yungyun's party. Stepping forward, Yungyun begins the negotiation. He offers a clear proposal. They already established they cannot coexist. So Yungyun is not here to ask for cozy teamwork. Instead, he suggests that the criminals go ahead and take the boss on the rooftop. Of course, Juhun does not care. He never needed their permission, planning to fight the beast regardless. Essentially, Yungyun holds absolutely no cards here, simply walking away without a fight makes him look ready to lie down and perish. Yungyun calmly explains that they stand zero chance against either these criminals or the monster. Waiting it out is simply smarter. Once they clear the roof, Yungyun's team will wait for another boss to spawn. This is a massive, blatant lie. Yet the student president delivers it with a perfectly straight face. Juhun grows immediately suspicious, warning them against playing any dangerous games. They are all doomed, but Jongyun keeps up his bluff despite Hwan's terrifying presence. He is trying to intimidate them, but Sehan can easily read his unique energy. This thug is clearly the chosen avatar of Hades, one of the most terrifying gods. Hwan turns to his crew to ask what they think about Jongyun's offer. The thugs agree, knowing they can easily slaughter these college kids if they try anything. If the students step out of line, they will just put them down, since everyone agrees. Hwan accepts the deal, but he demands one critical term. He demands that one of them stays behind as a hostage. Jongyun tries to volunteer, but Dongwon steps up instead. As the class president, Jongyun needs to lead his people, not get left behind. Hwan hates this arrangement. He wants to keep the whole group locked up right here. But then his greedy eyes drift over to the back of the crowd. He points directly at Jisoo, demanding that she is the one who must stay behind. Out of nowhere, Hwan lunges forward to strike her down without warning. But Sehan steps in and casually blocks the blade, locking eyes with the boss. Hwan is utterly shocked that some random kid actually dared to block his blade. He was already acting highly cautious around Jisoo, even without knowing her true identity. He just instinctively felt a chilling pressure radiating from her. Jongyun demands to know why he would attack them, but Hwan completely ignores the question. Instead, Hwan walks right up to Sehan, getting right in his face. The other thugs start shouting and screaming, trying to intimidate the group. But Sehan does not even flinch, coldly telling Hwan to take the deal. If they do not want a bloody fight, they will back off. Hwan realizes this kid is definitely no ordinary player and quickly tells his gang to shut up. But Sehan is actually the least of his worries. A shiver runs down his spine. It is all because of the monstrous aura coming from Jisoo, who stands nearby. Her terrifying glare completely paralyzes the boss, pinning him in place. He can only describe her aura as a predatory, man-eating flower. The other thugs urge him to strike, but Hwan is utterly frozen in terror. He can barely even breathe under her gaze. Sehan gently places a hand on her shoulder. That simple touch suppresses the crushing aura, and she slowly begins to calm down. She was utterly furious at how disrespectfully that thug had spoken to Sehan. That anger made her briefly lose control of her terrifying, godlike power. Even a fraction of a celestial slayer's aura can break a man. Juan might be a complete psycho, but he is nothing compared to a true slayer. With the crushing pressure lifted, Juan can finally breathe and shakily accepts their deal. He agrees to let just one person stay behind as collateral, just like they wanted. That person is Dongwon. As the group turns to leave, Juan seethes with rage. He cannot believe they humiliated him like this, and swears he will kill them all later. Safely back at the subway station, the students finally take a moment to regroup. Jongyun admits he was terrified back there, but is relieved everyone made it out. Since Dongwon volunteered to stay behind, they do not have to worry. For now, their priority is preparing for the real boss fight ahead. Sehan guides the group back to the safe zone they used earlier. Once there, he reveals the hidden item shop he showed Jisoo and Mina before. Ju and Mina's group had no idea a shop like this existed, so they quickly grabbed several weapons and items from the shelves. As they geared up, Hyung-yun turned to ask Sehan if the rivals would leave them alone once the boss was dead. There was no way their opponents would play fair after being so eager to eliminate them earlier. For now, Sehan simply told them not to worry at all. Just yet, however, he kept his reasons to himself, knowing there would be no tomorrow for the others once he was finished with them. He then stepped away to make a quick phone call. Just as he finished, Ju-hun approached completely unnoticed. She had a bizarre way of moving without giving off any presence, which Sehan still was not quite used to. He did not reveal who was on the other end of the line. Instead, he showed her his new shop items, which included a sharp, heavy spear and bracelets with adjustable weights. Settings, these pieces were crucial for his next steps, though he kept his plans secret. As the two started heading back to the group, Ju-hun asked Sehan a question about when exactly he learned to use a spear. He obviously could not tell her he mastered it in his previous life, so he claimed he just practiced a bit beforehand. Back in his original life, he was never a master of combat, and his skills were entirely mediocre. Yet, talent was never a mandatory requirement for him to win and survive. He was the sole survivor who outlasted everyone until the very end of humanity. Now, he intends to dominate completely. Matter the cost. Soon, they met back up with Hyung-yun, who was waiting for them. Bought some high-grade gear using points from their initial quest. Interestingly, he also seemed to have become an avatar. Knowing Hyung-yun's nature, his patron god was likely decent, but only time would tell. For now, Sehan decided to just watch closely. With everyone fully equipped, the time had finally come to head out and face the boss. Right before departing, Sehan announced that he and Jai-soo would move on their own. He handed Hyung-yun his newly purchased spear, which was coated in a special ore. He instructed Hyung-yun to plant the spear directly in the center of the room. Upon entering, the unique metal would make it easy to plunge the weapon straight into the floor as long as they kept the tip pointing upward. He then promised to send a quick signal to their phones when the perfect moment arrived. This alert would tell them exactly when to lure the monster toward the planted weapon. While these steps seemed entirely random, they were all key pieces of his master plan. Ready now. As the team prepared to move, Hyung-yun sent a quick group chat message which Dongwon spotted. He had been locked up for quite some time as their criminal syndicate tried and failed to defeat the boss 3 separate times. Sehan was likely right. Honestly, how on earth did he know so much anyway? Even Dongwon's own god warned him to stay extremely wary of this mysterious guy. Definitely had a hidden agenda, and Dongwon refused to sit around waiting for things to unfold. Deciding to take action, he immediately called over his watchguard, claiming he possessed crucial, highly valuable quest details that he must share directly with their boss. Him to deliver the crucial information that would ensure their success in the trial. While Sehan was a massive threat, Ju-hun's unique power was on a completely different level. If Dongwon had to choose, he would bet on her. The guard agreed, but warned him that things would end badly if this info turned out. All that effort is useless. Elsewhere, Hyung-yun and his crew descend into Lomi Tower's basement. Just a few mutant rats lurk here, easily dealt with. No sweat, because these monsters lurk in the dark. Bright light makes them weak. This allows the squad to wipe them out and push deeper into the area. Sehan handles the pests in a flash, clearing them way faster than the others. After trekking through the gloom for a while, the group is now halfway through the building basement, which actually extends down to the 6th floor. Right now, they are on the 3rd level, just as they plan to head deeper. Sehan gets a ping from Mina saying that she and her crew are heading straight into the sewers. Meanwhile, back above ground, Juin finally realizes a total trap. The boss they have been battling was never meant to be beaten. It is a deadly basilisk whose gaze turns people to stone, easily paralyzing. And slaughtering his men to decimate their ranks, he desperately tries to find a way to defeat the beast, but it is impossible. Meanwhile, a guard guides Dong Hun straight into Juin's private chambers. Dong Hun wants to discuss something crucial, spilling the beans to the boss about their true underground goal. They want to track down the real boss hidden deep below, explaining that the monster on the roof is just a decoy. It was a clever reverse psychology trick meant to mislead them. Juin instantly vows revenge, but Dong Hun does not care who comes out on top. In the end, he will simply side with the victorious faction. Even if his team wins, his god should easily cancel the punishment. With that, they head toward the basement, while the guard from before silently laughs at Dong Hun. She sneers at his useless contribution to the team. Dong Hun shrugs off the guard's weird behavior and follows them down to track down Hyung Yun's squad. Reaching the basement, they find it surprisingly empty. Nobody is there. Juin immediately orders his gang to sweep the entire area. They search frantically but find absolutely nothing. The guard then suggests they must have headed deep into the basement to clear the stage and escape. Juin agrees with this theory, and the group immediately begins moving down into the basement to ambush Hyung Yun's party. The passage is pitch black and total darkness. Luckily, Hyung Yun's squad has flashlights thanks to Sehan's foresight. This rival group, however, has absolutely no light to guide their way forward. But wait, 2 shadow figures are already calmly watching them. It is Sehan and Jae-soo. They both knew these thugs would follow them, so they patiently waited at the entrance to block their path. Sehan calls out to Dong Hun, whose predictable betrayal set this trap. His sneaky nature was completely obvious. Still, Dong Hun thinks he holds the upper hand. He warns Sehan that he is finished, claiming they cannot possibly survive a fight against this entire crowd of killers. Yet Sehan remains unfazed. He calmly asks the guard standing right next to Dong Hun if she agrees. Plot twist, the guard is actually Mina, who has been colluding with Sehan to lure these fools directly into a corner. Sehan wanted them gathered together, so he perfect trap. Every single target is now in position, including the gang, the traitor Dong Hun, and the rooftop monster. Now, with all players on the board, Sehan prepares to unleash hell. Time is running out, and Sehan still has to slay the basilisk on the building roof. Jae-soo wonders how he can manage it all, but then she steps forward, telling him to keep moving. She promises her power is more than enough to crush these thugs alone, since she is handling this. Sehan takes Mina and leaves. He absolutely needs her for the final boss. Before departing, he orders Jae-soo to keep Dong Hun alive. She feels disappointed since she wanted to break Dong Hun herself, but she still obeys her leader's absolute order. Just as Sehan turns to make his exit, vicious blade flies straight at his head, carrying Mina in one arm. He effortlessly evades the strike. Sehan lunges forward, striking Ju Hyun in half. His squad with a single devastating punch. With the path finally clear, he turns to leave the rest of this mess to Jae-soo. He notices a sudden change in her vibe but cannot quite put his finger on it. Regardless, he trusts her to handle the slaughter. Ju Hyun slowly pushes himself off the cold floor, ordering his lackeys to stop stalling and rip her apart. He assumes a single girl cannot possibly stand against a swarm of killers. The first fool to rush her immediately learns a fatal lesson about judging books by covers. She swings her weapon, cleaving his body completely in half instantly. Jae-soo warns the remaining thugs that nobody walks out of here without her permission. Preparing herself for the next wave, Ju Hyun notices her eyes look right through them, treating them like worthless bugs. Panicked, he screams at his men to strike immediately. They swarm with weapons drawn, but Jae-soo is only concerned with how much blood she is about to splatter on the floor. The lead attacker gets his head crushed before his weapon can even swing. The guy behind him has zero time to comprehend what just happened. Jae-soo blurs forward, taking him down with a brutal, bone-shattering uppercut. Another assassin sneaks into her blind spot, driving a blade into her back. She barely shrugs it off. Turning, she drives a fist straight into his skull. Killing him on the spot, her deep wound instantly seals up. Fueled by her celestial slayer traits, seeing her own blood only pushes her into an absolute frenzy. Right then, 3 more guys try to surround her. All at once, she easily dances around their attacks, breaking each of them with single, brutal strikes. Jaisu is just getting warmed up. Her onslaught continues. She clears the battlefield with perfect, lethal strikes, completely untouched. Over 30 desperate killers are swarming her at once, yet she totally dominates the entire crowd effortlessly. Ju Hyan watches in pure disbelief, desperately clinging to the hope that he can still take her down. He is twice her size and packs more raw power, or so he thinks. Jaisu sets her sights on Ju Hyan, launching her deadly mace. Ju Hyan shields himself by dragging one of his own men into the impact. With his human shield shattered, he must unleash the grim power of Hades, god of the underworld. He unleashes a terrifying divine ability called Death Sentence. This deadly skill guarantees that any hit is a one-shot kill for the next 60 seconds. Grim energy cloaks his blade, giving him absolute confidence. He can crush her, but as he readies his ultimate strike, Jaisu calmly watches. In one swift instant, his head is gone, just clean off his shoulders. In that tiny window, she spotted him and ended his life without hesitating. Ultimate confidence completely wasted. He could not even scratch her. Meanwhile, Sehan and Mina are rushing straight toward the top of the tower. Mina still worries about leaving Jaisu, but Sehan is confident she can handle things. Sure, the enemy seemed tough, but he really only has one strong trick. That ability takes forever to charge. For now, they need to focus on their plan. Sehan has a strategy for the basilisk, but Mina is highly skeptical about it. She does not think he should fight a monster that has slaughtered everyone else. Honestly, Sehan is not completely sure either. That is why he brought Mina along. Her transformation is her only real power, but it is exactly what he needs. After climbing for a few more minutes, they finally reach the peak. It is time to face the final boss, and Sehan tells her to transform immediately. She must turn into a very specific animal before they step inside. It is a big ask, but Sehan promises her a massive reward later. He will give her 2,000 points worth of gear if she just cooperates. Motivated by the points, Mina is suddenly a lot more willing to help him. She turns into a tiny weasel, still confused about how this helps at all. With everything set, Sehan pushes open the door to the boss chamber. The final battle is here. Inside, the room is packed with petrified human statues. These poor souls were turned to stone while trying to run for their lives. That is the power of the basilisk's petrifying gaze. Fortunately, they are in. They did not die instantly. Now Mina just needs to locate the beast itself. Except she does not have to search at all. The creature is absolutely massive. A giant serpent completely fills the space, and it is incredibly menacing to look at. As the official stage guardian, this monster was never meant to be beaten. But as Sehan steps closer to the sleeping giant, the beast suddenly stirs. It introduces itself as Orga and politely offers him a way out alive. If Sehan turns back quietly right now, Orga will let him walk away. Of course, Sehan has no intention of retreating after coming this far. This named boss is on a totally different level than the first stage Minotaur. The biggest threat is its legendary gaze, which instantly petrifies anything it sees. The second those yellow eyes pop open, everything in sight turns to solid rock. That is usually a death sentence, but Sehan has a clever secret weapon. This is Mina's cue to move, and she is still stuck in her weasel form. He orders her to run out and distract the boss just like they rehearsed. When she tries to back out, he literally grabs her and chucks her forward. She flies straight toward the beast, and Orga opens its eyes to look. Sehan uses this split-second distraction to sprint in and mount his own attack. Since Orga just fired its petrifying beam at Mina, its gaze needs to recharge. This brief window is exactly when Sehan plans to strike the beast's weak spot. He hurls his blade directly at the giant snake's head, scoring a perfect hit. Ducking behind a wall, he quickly realizes a basic sword will not cut it here. The attack barely left a scratch, and now Orga's fury shifts entirely to Sehan. Seeing the opening, Mina charges forward in a desperate attempt to strike back. Its deadly petrifying glare hits her directly, but legends say basilisks are actually weak against weasels, so as long as Mina stays in that form, the creature's petrifying stare cannot harm her. It simplifies things but a tiny weasel. is hardly built to fight a massive beast. Even so, Mina manages to survive. Its furious attacks, she quickly scrambles up its colossal body before getting crushed. Orga unleashes its petrifying glare once more, but it still has zero effect on Mina as she keeps it busy. While they trade blows, Sehan uses this golden opportunity to slip underneath the giant snake to launch another strike, but Orga spots his movement and tries to crush him with its heavy frame. This gives Mina just enough time to reach its eye and deliver a sharp strike. The basilisk shrieks as Mina's claws blind it completely. Now it can no longer activate that deadly stone, turning glare, which should make the rest of the battle much easier, but even. But do not celebrate just yet. Sehan is still in extreme danger. One scratch from the beast would be fatal. Luckily, because of its massive size, its movements are incredibly easy to read and dodge. As the monster keeps thrashing, Sehan receives a ping on his phone. His stalling tactic has succeeded, meaning it is time for the final phase of his plan to begin. He quickly backs away from Mina, and they scatter across the room while the angry beast focuses all its rage on Sehan. After a brief clash, the monster finally manages to hit Sehan with a blow he cannot fully dodge. Now it rears back to deliver the killing blow. Just before the strike lands, Sehan snaps his fingers. This is the signal for Mina to jump back in. She instantly transforms into a chicken and crows as loud as possible. The sound makes the basilisk writhe in sheer agony, just like with the weasel. The monster is vulnerable to a rooster's call. Sehan seizes the moment, rushing in with his small dagger to carve into the beast. However, his desperate attacks fail to leave a single scratch on its armored hide. He cannot damage it directly, but these minor strikes are slowly wearing the beast down. Still, the situation is getting incredibly dangerous, and he must find a way to end this fight fast. The target weaknesses are simply not enough to close the massive gap in their raw power. The basilisk slithers closer to Sehan, confident it can finish him off now that he is completely out of tricks. Sehan sees the basilisk has stepped right into his trap. Now watch as he stalls for time by talking more. He openly admits their power difference is too vast and that he knew from the start he could never win a straight fight. That is why he had to plan everything so meticulously to take down this basilisk. In his past life, he constantly fought against absolute monsters. Facing impossible odds is nothing new to him. To defeat an enemy who outclasses him in every single way, he does not need godly power or crazy stat points that make other players look like gods. All he needs is patience and experience, the two things that helped him survive the brutal game of the gods. Tired of hearing this useless speech, Orga lunges forward to deliver the final blow, but it is already far too late. Sehan smiles as his trap is sprung, and loud explosions echo throughout the entire structure. The walls and heavy supports begin to crumble around them. Sehan calmly reveals that he had allies plant explosives throughout the premises for an entire week. Now, they can be triggered with a simple distance, but they rarely affect monsters or players anyway. Naturally, this means they will not hurt this massive beast, but that was never his goal. His constant shifting around actually had a purpose. He wanted to slip those heavy bracelets from the shop onto the monster without it even noticing. Once they were finally locked on, Sehan cranks the weight to maximum, forcing the monster to crash onto the floor under the unbearable weight. Next, with a powerful final kick, Sehan sends the beast crashing straight through the floor and the shattered ruins, but even a fall like that is not enough to defeat it. The moment it recovers its strength, it fully intends to climb back up and destroy him. But down on the basement floor, in the exact spot Sehan ordered them to place it, lies a golden spear coated in oracle. Normally, a basic spear would not pierce it, especially since this is only the second main quest, and weapons that can threaten a sentinel simply do not exist yet. But this spear is reinforced with the strongest metal in existence, which changes everything. Meanwhile, Hung Yun and his teammates were struggling against the actual boss of this quest. They were losing ground fast. The players could barely land a single solid hit, and defeat seemed completely unavoidable. Fortunately, Hung Yun had driven the spear deep into the dirt and lured the boss right over it, exactly as Sehan had told him to. Perfect setup. Just as all hope was fading, massive explosions shook the entire area. A colossal creature they had never seen before came crashing right through the ceiling. It was the basilisk, falling all the way from the topmost floor of the tower, smashing through every single level until it slammed directly onto the boss monster downstairs. The impact crushed them both instantly. Right after, a system notification flashed before them. They had successfully cleared the second main mission. Hung Yun is completely stunned. He actually walked away with a silver rank despite doing almost nothing at all, leaving him totally clueless about how they survived. Then, another alert pops up. The next phase will only trigger once a few specific conditions are met. Until then, they are going to have plenty of downtime on their hands. While the rest of the team struggles to make sense of things, Sehan strolls into the basement without a single scratch on his body. His calm look says it all. He is obviously the mastermind behind this victory. Hung Yun stays quiet. He knows they would be dead without Sehan's help. But as for the Sins, they were on an entirely different level. They were terrifyingly strong, easily capable of destroying the boss themselves. Both those Sins and Sehan operate in a completely different league. Staring at them, Hung Yun feels a bitter frustration burning inside. He silently vows to do whatever it takes to grow stronger. Meanwhile, Sehan walks over to retrieve his gold spear. With this dungeon cleared, the big question now is where they should head next. Sehan shrugs, planning to just wander wherever the wind blows. He tells Hung Yun to reach out if trouble arises, and with that, they part ways. Sehan heads out alone toward his next destination. He knows Hung Yun must finally understand just how weak he really is. He only hopes Hung Yun can survive until the 7th main quest begins, for a chosen avatar. That shouldn't be impossible, but our main character still has no idea what. Wondering which god selected him, Sehan and Mina then meet up with Jai-Su inside an empty shop. She is calmly cleaning her weapon, and it looks like she even changed her armor after the battle. This suggests that the fight she had must have been at least somewhat intense. Keeping to their deal, Jai-Su spared Dongwon's life. She then locked him in a closet to wait for Sehan, who now walks over to check on him. The former vice president immediately leaps up and tries to attack Sehan before he can even speak. Besides holding him captive against his will, Jai-Su also placed a weight bracelet around Dongwon's neck. Sehan quickly activates it, slamming Dongwon into the ground under its massive weight. Once it seems like Dongwon has learned his lesson, Sehan finally deactivates the crushing pressure, allowing Dongwon to breathe and move again. But this device won't come off easily. Now, Dongwon is completely at Sehan's mercy. Sehan's command, he brought this on himself, having tried to kill everyone multiple times. This goes back to the first quest, when he tried to keep them trapped in the gym. He was so obsessed with betraying them that he didn't even notice Mina standing right next to him. Honestly, things only worked out because Sehan was there. Otherwise, their entire school would have been wiped out because of his greed. This is Sehan's physical punishment for him, but the mental punishment is far more devious. Sehan shows him an absolute contract demanding his signature. This is a contract that the signer can never break. Under its terms, the person who signs must remain completely selfless, kind, and honest. Otherwise, their choker will explode inward and kill them instantly. Dongwon tries to argue, but Jai-Su walks over, standing behind him with her weapon in plain sight. This makes it crystal clear that refusal is not an option. Dongwon quickly signs. Right after signing, he turns and scrambles to get away from Jai-Su. He can run wherever he wants, but Sehan can easily track his location anywhere thanks to that bracelet. Now, Dongwon must obey Sehan's every word. No matter what, he'll drop dead instantly if he ever disobeys a single command. With that settled, Sehan walks over to Jai-Su, who is checking her recent quest rewards. She made it back to gold tier, pulling in massive points thanks to the shared party rewards. Now that they are finally done with their main quests, it is time to figure out their next move. Jai-Su has a personal destination she needs to visit. Because of this, they have to travel separately for now. Luckily, as party members, they can easily track each other's coordinates on the map. They can meet up again later. With that settled, the two decide to split up so Jai-Su can handle her personal quest. That leaves just one person left to reward Mina. She was incredibly helpful during the mission, so Sehan decides to give her a special prize for her hard work. Mina instantly gets excited, hoping for some powerful gear, while Sehan reaches into his inventory. He pulls out a stealth ring that allows the wearer to completely conceal their presence. It is a rare B- rank item. This thing is so incredibly valuable that Mina almost hesitates to accept it. Jai-Su watches with a tiny flash of envy, but Sehan promises she is getting something next time too. With that, their shared journey takes a brief pause. With the tasks done, it is time for everyone to start their own personal quests. Sehan walks down the quiet, empty streets without Ju. Soon, he notices far more observers around him. Makes complete sense, especially after his legendary stunt during the second major quest. But the sheer number of eyes is nothing compared to his real worry. Mina is trailing him. He really has no use for her help anymore. Besides, her own personal observer is the absolute worst. Still, it barely matters now. The high gods are definitely already tracking his exact position. But the big mystery remains, why exactly is Mina still trailing behind him? She clearly senses his immense strength, making her want to stick around to see what she can gain. Honestly, she is pretty open about her selfish motives, which is actually quite refreshing. This is certainly much better than Dong Guan's sneaky methods. Plus, she plans to offer real help, so she does not look like a complete free rider. As they continue their walk, they run right into a pretty hostile crowd blocking their path. These thugs are clearly guarding a dungeon entrance. Seeing this, Sehan immediately raises his hands. He plays along, turning back to leave. This completely baffles Mina, who thought he wanted inside. He has a secret plan to break inside, and trust me, it is wild. Mina is more than ready to throw down and help him start a massive fight. But Sehan has a smarter play. Since the main entrance is totally blocked, he will improvise. He is going to carve his own path. Meanwhile, the gods are busy chatting on the forums. They are discussing the state of the game. On the forum, Dongguan complains loudly. His in-game avatar is completely tied up, leaving him totally powerless to do anything at all. Meanwhile, young Jester finds the entire situation absolutely hilarious, laughing at his miserable failure. He ruthlessly mocks the god for his blunders, causing a massive, petty argument between them. Other gods mention some highly valuable dungeons nearby. Overhearing this, Sehan monitors their entire conversation. This allows him to pinpoint the precise location of that guarded dungeon. The duo quietly walks through the city, eventually stopping on a seemingly ordinary, random street. This is the exact spot Sehan believes the dungeon is hidden. Kneeling down, he presses his hand against the ground to activate a brand new scanning skill. It searches a 50-meter radius. He obtained this incredibly handy skill as a platinum reward for taking down the basilisk. With the scan active, they successfully locate the boss room of that guarded dungeon. However, the boss chamber is sitting a whopping 20 meters directly underground. Under normal circumstances, reaching it is impossible. Dungeon walls have highly powerful magic. Shielding, meaning players absolutely cannot break inside without clearing the dungeon first. That rule applies to average players, of course, but our guy Sehan is a total pay-to-win player. He owns the perfect tool for breaching this room. He bought it from the downloadable content store, a dungeon destroyer excavation drill. This ridiculous gear can literally bore through solid dungeon walls. He lies to Mina, claiming it was just a rare quest reward. Without waiting, he begins drilling deep down. After 5 long hours of intense drilling, they finally crash straight into the boss room. They have successfully reached the core. There, a giant mantis boss is waiting for them. Surrounding the boss is a massive swarm of smaller mantis monsters that quickly rush forward to attack. As they brace themselves, Sehan asks Mina to deal with the annoying swarm and watch his back. He will handle the boss himself. Pulling out the same orichalcum-coated spear he wielded against the fierce basilisk, he effortlessly carves a bloody path right through the shielding swarm of monsters. These giant bugs have glaringly obvious weak spots, making his job much easier. Taking them down is incredibly easy for Sehan, and he quickly pushes forward. The giant mantis boss looks even simpler to defeat since its massive size slows it down. It is way slower than the smaller ones. Sehan runs the numbers and takes aim. He unleashes a devastating strike that completely tears through the monster's middle section. The beast dies instantly, dungeon cleared, making them the absolute first. Clearing the dungeon first globally earns them a bonus of 1,000 points. They also unlock a highly coveted achievement known as First Experience Hunter. It is a pretty weird name, but he does not dwell on it and shifts his focus. More achievements equal more rewards later. He keeps his eyes on the prize. Now it is time to check the drops left behind by the giant mantis boss. He grabs an F-level magic stone alongside an E-rank skill called Precise Strike. Not top-tier loot, but hey, it is still much better than leaving empty-handed. These items are just the basic boss drops, not the actual dungeon clearance treasures. Tucked away in a quiet corner lies a massive pile of valuable loot and gold coins. They can sell all of this for a ton of points, so they pack up and leave. About 4 days later, the original group of explorers finally makes it to the boss room. They are absolutely thrilled, believing they are about to become the first dungeon conquerors. After spending a whole week fighting off endless swarms of insects, they expect a massive payday. With racing hearts, they slowly push open the heavy doors to the boss chamber. Imagine their sheer disappointment. They only find a room with rotting corpses and a ceiling hole. To make matters worse, a message on the wall mocks them for being late. Shortly after, Sehan logs back into the exclusive chat forum of the gods. He immediately lands right in the middle of a pretty heated argument between the deities. Young Jester seems absolutely thrilled, while a rival god is fuming over their stolen dungeon. The chaotic goddess is clearly loving every single second of this drama. Sehan decides to use this chaotic moment to throw out some enticing new bait. He mentions finding a prime dungeon nearby, instantly capturing the attention of every god. He pulls up a map pointing directly to the National University of Education Station. He confidently claims that a valuable C-rank item is waiting to be claimed there. Young Jester backs him up, confirming his info has always been spot on before. Too good to be true, the other deities are definitely not as trusting. One of them even demands that Sehan reveal his true identity to everyone. Luckily, the strict forum rules completely protect those who choose to remain anonymous. Armed with this new lead, the eager gods start summoning their chosen avatars. They prepare to move out. After all, they completely buy into his bait. Soon, every avatar in the region will be flocking to a single coordinate. Even young Jester urges Mina to head there, but Sehan flatly refuses the idea. His regression memories prove that while high-rank items are there, they are completely useless. Those treasures are nothing but bait, and he wants them focusing on the next quest. This third quest lacks a strict time limit, but he wants it cleared quickly. Clearing it before the fourth main quest drops ensures they do not lose any rewards. But first, Sehan needs to secure a crucial power, whispering that he needs a constellation. He keeps this quiet. For now, Mina is left completely in the dark. Instead, they quietly slip away toward another nearby dungeon where a different challenge awaits. He must dig into the boss room like before, but this dungeon goes much deeper than the last one. Therefore, they simply have to enter the dungeon through its actual main entrance and clear it normally. He hands Mina a protective scarf that can block ranged attacks. After that, they both step directly inside the quiet dungeon where Mina immediately notices how quiet it is. It feels highly unbelievable that this is a dungeon. Pitch black darkness completely surrounds them, making it very difficult to see anything as they keep walking straight ahead. After some time, they feel like they have been looping in circles. Sehan already knew about this, and a solid reason exists why they have been looping around. This hidden secret will soon become incredibly clear to them both. A strong gust of wind rushes through the narrow subway. Suddenly, something moves straight toward Mina. Fortunately, the scarf Sehan gave her works. It intercepts the strike before she gets hurt. This scarf is actually a special item called the Cloth of Protection. It is guaranteed to shield 5 ranged attacks before it breaks apart once it has been fully used up. Because of that single hit, Mina now has only 4 protections left, so they must stay alert. The arrow that tried to hit Mina proves Sehan found the right spot. Sehan quickly checks the online forums and sees that other players are indeed facing the exact same problem. A beast hiding in the dark keeps killing them before they can react. Mina suggests an idea to transform into a tiny form. However, whatever she transforms into will still get hit by the attack, no matter how small she becomes. Only one creature can escape these hits. Sehan tells her what it is and gives her exact instructions to follow. Once he signals, another deadly arrow flies straight toward Sehan, and the protective cloth barrier completely shields him, dropping his charges to 4. Next, he wraps a thread around the arrow called the tracking threads. Once the thread is wound around an item and thrown, it travels directly to that target item's own absolute first owner. The arrow zips through the darkness and finally lands right next to an archer hidden in the dark. This creature is called a Ranger of the Night, which is a beast that moves much faster when it travels through dark zones. Sehan charges forward before it can escape once more. The monster retaliates by shooting an arrow at him, using up another protection charge. With only 3 blocks remaining, Sehan must quickly find a way to end this. The Ranger tries to retreat into the pitch black, firing multiple deadly arrows at Sehan as it runs. Two of those arrows strike Sehan, leaving him with only one. Protection before he is exposed, the ranger draws its bowstring and releases one final arrow, which now completely consumes the last protection from the scarf, making it disintegrate, but it is already too late. Sehan has closed the gap, and a close combat fight is imminent. The ranger grins, revealing it actually has one final secret surprise ready, since Sehan is so near he is completely exposed. The ranger draws its bow, once more launching an arrow that is absolutely certain to connect. However, incredibly clever Sehan has already secured victory in this battle. He expertly avoids the arrow just as a bat flies down directly from the ceiling carrying a tiny, strange glowing orb. In many video games, small critters populate dark underground areas. These harmless little creatures are usually programmed to ignore both players and the monsters. Because of this, they stay completely invisible, even when moving around. This was exactly what Sehan had planned for when he instructed Mina. Her task: transform into a bat and blend into the ceiling swarm. At the perfect moment, she would drop down carrying a flashing light orb. The item unleashes a massive, blinding flash on everything nearby. 10 seconds of absolute blindness for everyone in the area. Sehan immediately seizes his chance and drives his weapon straight into the beast. No escape this time. The entire plan succeeds without a single hitch. The monster crashes down dead at their feet after a brutal struggle. But there is no special loot this time, unlike the Mantis dungeon. Raid dungeons are notoriously stingy with rewards because they lack minor mobs. Still, the final boss rewards are nothing to scoff at. Sehan walks away with some pretty impressive high-grade loot anyway. He claims the Code of the Night and some knight's gloves. A brand new skill called Shadow Rush is his next prize. This allows him to vanish into the deep darkness and escape easily. Next is Guaranteed Shot, granting his attacks absolute 100% accuracy. His stats are surging, and his skill list is absolutely massive. He has officially become the most powerful player on the planet. Yet even this incredible strength is not enough for his next target. He does not just want to clear quests, he wants full game completion. A secret package from his first run is still waiting to unlock. Once claimed, his former peak powers will finally return to him. Only then can he hope to defeat the nightmare of the third quest. His ultimate goal, the giant crow that ruined his previous game run. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Jaisu arrives at her old home. A swarm of vicious monsters tried to block her path to this place. None of them stood a chance. She knocks on the door. Jaisu simply kicks the front door off its hinges. More monsters wait inside, but they are mere pests to her. She obliterates them instantly, literally crushing them like bugs with her hands. Moving deeper into the house, she finally finds the one she wanted. Her father lies dead on the floor in a massive pool of blood. She breaks down in tears over his body, but a ringing phone cuts her short. Wiping her eyes, she answers the calling phone with trembling hands. It is her mother. Meanwhile, Sehan and Mina arrive at their next target. But the location is not what they expected at all. Lam World is a massive theme park that seems completely untouched. Smiling workers welcome them inside, acting like everything is completely normal. Monsters seem to completely avoid this zone during the raid. However, damaged rides and cracked concrete prove they were actually here. The eerie vibe is deeply unsettling. Mina decides to speak up. She asks the worker what happened, but gets only a robotic answer. They are told to simply go ahead and explore Lam World. The location is clearly a trap, but Sehan decides to step inside anyway. They must go in. The air feels far too clean, and though the workers are human, something is wrong. These people are not monsters or players. This entire setup is incredibly creepy. It is all for the crow's sick amusement. The staff are held here against their will. Polite smiles hide the fact that they are absolutely terrified inside. They only work to stay safe. As they walk deeper, their next quest suddenly triggers. Mina gets a simple quest, but Sehan is in for a massive shock. His current objective is completely different from anything he remembers from his past life. Back then, Sehan's quest was a simple rank D mission. This time, however, the system hands him a much harder rank C quest. Mina only has to collect 5 simple stamps, the exact same task Sehan completed before. His current run is way more brutal. Only 2 entities can alter a quest. Those would be the game master or the core system itself. If the game master was truly behind this, they would have physically appeared before him. Since that did not happen, the system itself must be pulling the strings. Sehan actually finds this fair. After all, he already took down 2 massive sentinels. Mina notices his grim, unhappy expression and asks what is wrong, but he stays quiet. He pauses, collecting his thoughts, trying to find a silver lining in this mess. At the very least, this development proves that his actions are successfully changing the future. The future is shifting exactly as he planned. They continue exploring the amusement park. Out of nowhere, Sehan asks Mina if she has ever heard of Roller Coaster Typhoon. It is a retro simulator about running a theme park, and she nods in recognition. He tells her to imagine they are trapped inside that very game right now. Think about it, a twisted, unseen manager controlling every single thing in this park. They can do absolute madness, like deleting roller coaster tracks midair just for sick fun. This sends all the rides crashing down, killing the guests. Profit does not matter. They only want to watch people suffer. That is exactly how this park operates. Everything in this park is run by the cruel whims of a constellation named Kira's. Sehan cannot tell her this directly. He should not even know this information yet. But the grim reality of how this place is managed speaks for itself. They are forcing innocent civilians to work as employees, completely ignoring their basic safety. Right now, absolutely none of the active players know about constellations. So explaining the truth to Mina is off the table for now. This world is crawling with powerful threats, ranging from basic mobs to massive bosses. Standing far above those are the Sentinels, the absolute peak of monster kind. Players are not even meant to fight them, yet constellations are infinitely worse. The truth is, constellations exist on a completely different plane of power and reality. Instead of just being stronger, they are fundamentally distinct, godlike beings. The entity pulling all the strings in this theme park is one of them. A low-tier constellation named Kira's, who still holds terrifying divine power. Under normal rules, it is way too early for a constellation to appear. But Kira's found a loophole, being weak enough to slip through early. By slightly reducing its own divinity, it managed to easily bypass the game restrictions. It forced its way into this world long before any player could hope to match it. Its sole goal is to have fun playing with humanity, while there is absolutely no threat to its safety. Yet even with a suppressed level, the absolute destruction it would unleash on humanity was immense. A high-level constellation, for now their best option is to tread lightly and stay alert. They must remain alert while finishing quests in this bizarre new layout. It looks completely different from the world they once knew. The new ruler has remade this place entirely to their twisted liking. As they wander through, a terrified employee calls out, begging them to join his ride. Shaking in fear, he points toward his attraction while wearing a bizarre metal collar. That attraction is a creepy haunted house. Mina immediately refuses to step inside. Mina starts arguing with Sehan, but she is suddenly cut off. The employee's collar suddenly starts beeping with a flashing red light. Then it violently explodes. A desperate scream is cut short as the blast decapitates him. His body collapses. This tragedy connects directly to Sehan's main quest. The goal is to save every single person trapped in this nightmare park. He must fix this mess and lead everyone to a safe exit. Right now, there are 138 players and 725 civilians left. The worker's headless corpse hits the ground right in front of them, dropping the count. The other staff members just look away. Mina struggles to process the horror. It seems even the vendors have strict time limits, just like player quests. A single second too late means death. Mina breaks down in tears. She fears the worker died simply because she hesitated to enter the attraction. Sehan tries to calm her, explaining this was just the park's cruel design. In his past life, Sehan already knew many died here. He only heard about the tragedy from the lucky few who escaped. Still, Sehan remembers this area being way more crowded than this. But he cannot dwell on that now. He has to find his target. First things first, they need to gather the required stamps to proceed. He calls out to another staff member, demanding they guide them to the ride. The guide reluctantly agrees, but issues a dark warning about the haunted house. They will not be coming out of there the same way they went in. Still, they have zero choice. Failing to complete the quest in time means instant death. Almost every single player who dared to enter this house has perished. No matter how confident they were, but since they insisted, the guide leads the way. To survive the attraction, they just need to reach the other side. Sounds incredibly simple, right? But the horror waiting inside is anything but basic. Every single step must be carefully measured as the duo finally steps inside. Mina immediately clings tight to Sehan's arm, trembling as they cross the threshold. They are barely past the entrance, and she is already paralyzed with fear. Sehan pauses on a bridge to assess the path. Suddenly, a massive spike drops. A spiked wrecking ball swings down, missing them by a fraction of an inch. They have no time to think as even more iron balls crash down. They are forced into a mad dash across the crumbling bridge. Mid-sprint, a grotesque monster lunges out from the dark. It aims straight for Mina, but Sehan moves with blinding speed, thrusting his spear. He blocks the vicious bite and kicks the beast square in the chest. The creature crashes backward. With the immediate threat cleared, he checks on Mina. She is huddled on her knees, completely broken and sobbing in sheer terror. With Mina unable to move, Sehan has to hoist her onto his back for the rest of the haunted house, her face buried in his shoulder as she quietly weeps. Throughout the house they face endless monsters, but Sehan easily destroys every single threat, sprinting straight through the attraction. With Mina riding piggyback, ordinarily Mina has the strength to fight these monsters, but she is far too terrified to fight alone. Sehan just keeps pushing forward through the dark while she grips him for dear life. The layout is just like any standard haunted house where people wander through while scares jump out from every angle, except here there is one massive difference. These monsters are actually alive and fully intent on killing them. It is simple, but fighting while protecting someone else is a massive hassle. Still, he decides to treat this as solid training for future battles. Back in his past life, he never would have put himself out like this. But things changed. After a few more quick skirmishes, they finally burst outside. They ended up completing the attraction in record time. Sehan is barely breathing hard, but poor Mina is completely wiped out, wheezing and gasping for breath from the absolute terror of it all. She tries to act tough, but the sweat and tears streaming down her face prove just how terrified she actually was, with their very first match done. Sehan takes a moment to ask the staff about that weird collar device. He wants to get his hands on one for some future study. The worker looks confused, but hands Sehan a spare collar anyway. He explains that these things can be set to detonate remotely if certain conditions are met, eager to test this out right now. Sehan coats the device in protective oracle, throwing it into the distance so nobody gets hurt. He triggers the detonation command, and just like that, the device blows up, yet amazingly, the outer shell remains completely intact. This is because the blast force is directed entirely inward. But once Sehan peels back the protective coating of oracle, they notice the inner mechanism is totally fried, thanks to this clever test. Sehan has figured out a brilliant way to save the other park hostages. Mina never pegged him as the heroic type, leaving her deeply curious. She asks him point blank what brought on this sudden change of heart. This question triggers a memory of a legendary warrior from his past life, who fought relentlessly to protect others and never turned his back on anyone. Our main character was never that noble, even though that man saved him. This time around, he wants to do better, but freeing the workers is tricky. Even if they disarm the collar devices, the park is still extremely dangerous. Letting them roam is a death sentence. For now, they must wait. The staff needs to obey the system for just a little longer. The best move is to gather info while running through more attractions. Mina is actually pretty pumped to tackle the rest of the park, since she is confident nothing else can rattle her like that haunted house. But by the time they clear every last ride, a harsh reality hits. She was completely wrong. This park is definitely not a safe game. This is no ordinary amusement park, and the attractions here make that pretty obvious. They are basically deadly traps. Honestly, the duo barely managed to escape with their lives. The roller coasters completely lacked safety bars, while flying monsters swarmed from the sky. Even the water slide had giant monsters waiting at the bottom. The gyro drop had no brakes, nearly sending them plunging to their deaths, but compared to those absolute death traps, the haunted house actually felt like a walk in the park. Right now they have 4 stamps, meaning they only need one more to complete the quest. Unfortunately, time has already run out because the park is shutting down, making it completely impossible to get that final stamp before closing time. Night falls quickly, and the entire park goes dark as operations shut down. Suddenly, eerie music echoes through the dark. Some kind of nightly event is starting. Sehan and Mina quickly hide in the bushes as a massive parade of monsters appears. They march, screaming with twisted joy. Sehan quickly covers Mina's eyes. This is definitely not a sight a young kid should ever witness. The monsters are marching with captured humans, brutally torturing them as they go. It seems like they genuinely enjoy inflicting this agonizing pain. They even drag a dead player along. Talk about pure cruelty. This whole show is just for their entertainment. Sehan decides they have seen more than enough. They need to find safety immediately. But monsters are everywhere now, and the park employees are still lurking inside. Most of the buildings' safe hiding spots are almost completely non-existent here. Luckily, Sehan remembers a crucial detail mentioned by survivors from his past life. They talked about a massive safari zone hidden deep inside the amusement park. Apparently, players always managed to find safe shelter there during the early quests. Still, a safe zone like this should never exist normally. Karis. The Crow constellation has to be behind this, likely pulling strings with the game masters. Whatever he is plotting, Sehan is determined to figure it out. Soon, they finally reach the designated safe zone, where heavily armed guards stand watch. Mina asks if they can come inside. The guards look them over and notice she already has 4 stamps. Instantly recognizing her incredible power, they let them right in. Even the current camp leader only has 3 stamps. This means Sehan and Mina are instantly respected far more than anyone else. A guard guides them to a quiet, empty spot to rest before heading off to report their arrival. He mentions that around 200 survivors are sheltering inside, including both players and ordinary citizens. Right among this massive crowd, Sehan immediately spots the exact targets he was looking for. He zeroes in on one specific individual, a man chosen by none other than Hephaestus, the mighty god of Olympus. This is Suzong, the legendary sole avatar of Hephaestus. In Sehan's past life, he was a world-famous player, capable of forging god-tier gear that fetched insane prices at the auction house. Every elite player owned his gear. It is honestly safe to say that humanity survived much longer in this twisted game thanks to Suzong's weapons. But the broken man Sehan sees now is nothing like the Suzong he remembers. That legendary blacksmith never lost hope, even in the absolute worst situations. He has completely given up, sitting silently with his head down. The man sitting beside Suzong must be his older brother, who died in Sehan's past. Right then, Sehan walks over with Mina to introduce themselves. Sitting down with them, Seo's brother seems very pleased to have company. Oddly enough, everyone else has been staying far away from them. Sehan notices something else. Seo's brother seems to be completely blind. Curious, he simply cannot recall this detail from his past life. No matter, Sehan offers to make some simple introductions. The brother introduces himself as Changu, and they exchange names. Surprisingly, Sehan notices that Mina is being unusually well-behaved. Normally, she is only rude to him and Ju. After introductions are completed, Sehan hopes they can get along, but something has been bothering him since they met. Changu seems like a regular player with a standard sword, yet there is something unique about it. Changu claims he is pretty skilled, even with his lost sight. Now his weapon mostly serves as a sturdy walking stick after losing his sight. Hearing about his brother's blindness makes Seo incredibly sad, and he leaves to rest. The kid seems sensitive lately. Sehan promises not to pry anymore. Honestly, with how tense this settlement feels, his caution makes sense. Suddenly, Changu breaks the silence, explaining they barely escaped a monster pursuing them. This monster is a sentinel, not Kira's as Sehan first believed. Instead, a powerful sentinel controls this area. Its name is Chawung. This is highly bizarre. There should be no other sentinel in this area. The only one was Orga the Basilisk, whom he had already killed himself. It appears the game system is reacting directly to Sehan's reputation. After all, the game masters only manage their own split worlds. But above those game masters, the main system controls the ultimate rules. These recent changes in the storyline are definitely the system's doing. It controls hidden monsters, meaning Sehan has attracted too much attention. He won't give up. Sehan is fully prepared for any changes. For now, he pushes it aside to focus purely on tomorrow's plans. Step 1. Collect key information and move forward with absolute caution. Meanwhile, Mina is fast asleep, completely unfazed by the new surroundings. Suddenly, a quiet noise catches his attention. Someone is sneaking out. It is Changu heading out of the settlement in the dead of night. He stops at the gate, where the guards immediately question him. He says he only needs to step outside briefly, but the guards hesitate due to his blindness. Changu promises them he knows the path and will be fine. Sehan watches Changu slip away, noticing the Universal Observer following right behind him. There is absolutely no reason for it to follow him if he was just going to the restroom. This is getting highly suspicious. So Sehan decides to access the Gods Forum to find answers. He meets up with young Jester, who is clearly thrilled to see him. She mentions how often she sees him in the chat room lately. Everyone loves his helpful tips, but Sehan has direct questions. He asks if he can borrow her personal observer to watch something. Since gods have private observers, Sehan lies, claiming the universal one is blurry. Sehan explains he wants to borrow her private observer instead, and his reasoning sounds believable. Normally, gods do not get personal observers unless they have chosen an avatar. Sehan lies to her, claiming he is already trying to select a player. He complains that players keep refusing his generous offers, making things difficult. So he needs her observer to watch that stubborn player. That player is actually himself. Young Jester admits that plenty of other gods have tried to choose him too. Yet he keeps turning everyone down. She has watched him for quite a while. Ever since he teamed up with her avatar, Mina, she would have chosen him herself. Sehan simply brushes past her teasing. Once more, he asks to use her observer. Since her avatar is fast asleep, she has no real reason to say no. Her sole condition is that he must share any new information with her first. Sehan quickly agrees to her terms, and young Jester begins focusing the observer. He says he wants to check on a player who just left the settlement. He warns her that something is highly unusual about this person's behavior. Using the observer, he tracks Changu as he sneaks into the deep forest. Changu stops in an open clearing. Suddenly, a massive glowing white bird swoops down. It perches on a branch right before Changu, the moment the creature lands. Changu drops to his knees, respectfully, ready to report everything that has happened. Sehan is stunned. As they speak, he realizes the bird's voice belongs to Kara's. Actually, it is the sentinel Chilwung, the very one Changu warned them about. The bird commands Changu to keep a close, watchful eye on Sehan and Mina. He must report any sudden moves they make. Then, the beast takes flight. Changu is left standing alone in the quiet woods, having survived countless betrayals. Sehan knows real deception. This is no act. He knows Changu is dead serious. Even young Jester is left speechless by this shocking revelation, a close ally. He is a spy, a traitor. She asks Sehan how he figured this out. But Sehan keeps quiet. Internally, he desperately tries to make sense of things. Why would Changu act this way? In his past life, Siu always praised him. He called his older brother a saint, someone who would sacrifice everything for others. Sehan has a theory about what is really going on behind the scenes. Instead of investigating immediately, he closes the community forums and waits until morning. The primary goal right now is collecting intel from the local townsfolk. The rumors confirm his suspicions. The setup matches his previous playthrough almost exactly. The only wild card this time around is a beast named Chilwung. He is a Bulgasari, a legendary creature from Korean mythology that devours metal. Though it moves slowly, its raw strength and armored body are absolutely terrifying. The beast grows significantly stronger and tougher based on how much metal it eats. Because of this, Sehan's current attacks will not do much damage to it. To make matters worse, a monster of that caliber answers directly to Kara's. While he tries to organize a strategy, Mina suddenly approaches him. She asks what he is up to. Keeping her out of this mess seems safer. He brushes off her concerns, but she already knows exactly what he is plotting. He is planning to take down the Sentinel, another seemingly impossible mission. Defeating Orga took everything, yet he wants to challenge another beast. Sehan is confident that with the right preparation, he can pull this off. With the right timing and perfect conditions, he can absolutely take this beast down. Right now, there is nothing else he can do to ease Suzong's mind. Armed with a clear plan, Sehan stands up, ready to head out of the safari. He needs to meet a contact in the park, so he asks Mina for a quick favor. She has to watch over the two Song brothers. He cannot explain it to her just yet. But she must contact him immediately if anything seems off. With that settled, Sehan slips out of the town to track down the giant monster, Kaelong. Meanwhile, deep inside a ruined castle nearby, monsters roam completely unchecked and wild. Amidst the absolute chaos, Karis, the crow constellation, lounges lazily on the dusty ground. Setting up his base in this chaotic park was honestly a brilliant move for Karis. He feeds on the raw terror of the players to fuel his upcoming event. Turning his attention away from his thoughts, he addresses the massive beast waiting nearby. This giant elephant-like monster is Kaelong, here to deliver a critical report. It is an update on the third main quest. Karis remembers something crucial. Normally, players only scrape together 3 stamps at best, but yesterday changed everything. Someone actually grabbed their 4th stamp, and trust me, that completely ruins his mood. He opens the status screen, shocked to see they are almost finished without any divine help. Watching the playback footage of their insane rides, he knows they are going to do it. They will definitely secure that 5th stamp and clear the quest today. He cannot interfere. Having a powerful constellation, meddling this early would break far too many rules. He only managed to slip in here by exploiting a clever loophole in the system anyway. While there is a slight chance these players might seek him out, it is highly unlikely. So he orders Kaelong to leave them be for the time being. Honestly, it might work out. Having a few survivors actually complete the challenge might work in his favor. Lately, everyone has been too terrified to even try the rides because of the brutal difficulty. But if 2 players manage to survive and escape, it will spark fresh hope. That false hope will lure more victims to their brutal deaths on the same rides. With his report delivered, Kaelong leaves his master to his dark amusement. He returns to patrol duty, proving surprisingly dedicated to his deadly job. Karis initially dismissed the beast as foolish, but it keeps proving him wrong. Deploying a sentinel like this into the game is rare, and even Aratus has no explanation. Now the beast stomps away, eager to crush far more players than it did yesterday. Outside, Sehan waits at a specific spot along the monster's regular patrol route. Suddenly, the ground begins to violently tremble as the massive beast approaches. Kaelong seems puzzled to find a human standing right in its path, completely fearless. Without warning, the beast raises its massive hand to crush the insect instantly. Driven entirely by Karis's commands, its mind operates on a very basic level. It lives only to watch players flee in absolute terror, but Sehan stands his ground. As the colossal hand slams down, the impact shatters the earth, triggering pure chaos. Sehan uses the massive chunks of flying debris as stepping stones, leaping straight up. He launches high into the air, coming face to face with the colossal sentinel. Closing the distance, he slashes hard, but the monster's hide is unbelievably thick. Even an oracle-coated blade fails to leave a single scratch on its armored body. The monster must have swallowed metal to harden its body to this extreme degree. Kaelong recoils in shock, completely stunned that a mere human managed to dodge. Even with that half-hearted strike, Cha-Woon never expected a player skilled enough to keep fighting. Without speaking, Sehan charges again, dragging his blade across the massive body. This dead silence starts to make Cha-Woon pretty anxious. In reality, Sehan just thinks this loudmouth beast talks way too much. He wants action over empty chatter, which drives Cha-Woon absolutely insane. Deciding to end things fast, the giant finally starts fighting for real. As another giant fist storms forward, Sehan slips past, landing right on its arm. He quickly climbs up toward the face, utilizing the beast's massive size. Upon reaching the head, he strikes with his sword, but it is not enough. It fails to leave even a scratch, though Sehan notices his blade remains undamaged. This proves the creature's body is not actually tougher than legendary orichalcum. Power is the real issue. Suddenly, another fist comes rushing in. He barely slips away and slashes at the leg, making the monster turn around. The giant spins to stomp him, but Sehan is desperately searching for any weakness. No weak spot yet, but at least he is faster than this giant. He has already maximized his stats as much as possible for this battle. Currently, his abilities are at the absolute peak for an E-rank player. Yet even with the best stats available, he cannot leave a single mark. Another massive blow crashes down, he barely slips away. He lands in a bush, completely frustrated. No easy fights here. Honestly, this giant feels absolutely impossible to bring down right now. No wonder players fear this sentinel, if Cha-Woon is already this tough. Then Karis's own strength must have increased to an insane degree. Defeating Karis here seems impossible without his previous playthrough transfer package. Meanwhile, Cha-Woon remains furious, ready to tear everything apart. But Sehan has vanished. This makes the sentinel even angrier. Suddenly, Sehan's voice echoes from the bushes, mocking him for being too slow. Infuriated, the monster starts tearing apart trees, demanding that Sehan show himself. But our hero is already gone. He got his answers. He cannot beat Cha Woon yet, not with these skills. He must find a completely different method to land a truly devastating, fatal blow. In the end, finding Suzong seems to be his absolute only option. Meanwhile, back at the safari park, Mina sits reading a pamphlet with the two brothers. To pass the time, Changgu asks if she is actually Sehan's sister. That is definitely not true, especially since their last names are completely different. Besides, they get along way too well to actually be related by blood. This makes Mina wonder if Seo and Changgu are actually real brothers themselves. Smiling, Changgu proudly confirms that they are indeed real-life brothers. He only asked because Sehan and Mina seemed like such an unusual duo. After all, Sehan got 4 stamps, prompting Mina to proudly show off hers. But Sehan suddenly pops up, immediately shutting down her little brag. This terrifies Mina, since he has absolutely zero presence when moving. Sitting down with them, Changgu mentions they were just talking about him. Specifically, how the two met when he literally caught her trying to rob a bank. And while that makes her sound like a hardcore criminal, the truth is, honestly, it is completely true. Those two actually get along incredibly well. Their playful banter always makes Changgu laugh. Changing the subject, Sehan asks Changgu to give him a moment. He wants them to discuss something in private. The two of them quickly leave the group. Sehan leads Changgu a short distance into the quiet forest. He then directly confronts Changgu about his connection to Kaelong. Instantly, Changgu draws his sword and places it right against Sehan's neck, ready to strike at any sign of trouble. He asks Sehan how he obtained this information. The main character simply replies that he has his own secret methods. He had other questions too, but those will have to wait. Playtime is over. He tells Changgu to fight. Changgu acts in a flash, swinging at Sehan's neck. The main character manages to slip past the blow. He then quickly shifts his fighting stance. Sehan cannot back away as Changgu launches another strike at Sehan's face. Even though he cannot see, he is quite skilled at fighting. It appears Changgu possesses a mind's eye that lets him see and fight even though he is blind. Changgu clearly senses that Sehan has his own special fighting techniques. Since Sehan does not intend to talk, Changgu believes the best choice is to kill the main character right away. In a flash, Changgu lunges forward to deliver a final strike. From the way Changgu stands, Sehan can easily tell that he is exceptionally skilled. However, Sehan is also incredibly powerful. He catches the sword with his bare hands. The sharp edge never reaches his face. During their clash, Sehan can tell that Changgu's agility is between 60 and 70, and his strength is at 50. These stats are remarkably high for someone who is not an avatar. This must mean he focused all his points on increasing his strength and agility. Changgu retreats. He immediately launches another relentless assault at Sehan. The main character easily avoids all of these strikes. Changgu then rushes in for another series of attacks. Sehan somehow manages to block all of them using his hands. This is thanks to his night gloves, which he received from the ranger, protecting his hands. It is clear whose strength is greater in this fight. They both calm down. Sehan gets directly to the main topic. He asks why Changgu would work as a spy for Kaelong given his strength. The truth, it is simple. Even though the blind swordsman does not speak right away, it is all because of Seo. He made an agreement to keep Seo safe. When Changgu first met Kaelong by himself, he attempted to confront the Sentinel. However, he was not strong enough to defeat the huge creature. The Sentinel only viewed Changgu as something to play with. In the end, Changgu lost his ability to see. Seo then saw what happened and lost his desire to fight. After that, Changgu had to do whatever Kaelong told him. Even though that day was full of absolute hopelessness, he still wanted to try and keep Seo alive, even if it meant a terrible life for himself. He has worked as a spy since he first got to the safari. Most of his reports were about where the group was going. Now that the secret is out, Changgu thinks Sehan will tell the others about him, but Sehan has another idea. Since Changgu's secret life has not harmed anyone yet, they can likely use it to help them. They can also use this to learn about Kaelong's actions. Kai Wang holds back his information simply because he feeds on their fear. He told Changgu to watch them closely and make sure they do not escape. From how Sehan speaks, Changgu understands that our main character plans to fight. He will strike the creature when it prepares to attack next week. Sehan is strong, but even Changgu doubts he can survive the Sentinel. Standard strategies and attacks are completely useless against its absolute power. Sehan already knows this firsthand because he fought the beast before. It was unlike any monster he had ever faced, extremely tough. But just because he cannot kill it right now does not mean it is invincible. Without saying another word, Sehan leaves, telling Changgu to keep sharing info. They are running out of time, so there is no space for long explanations. Changgu must explain everything to Seo, as the boy plays a massive role. They desperately need the kid to move past his grief and help. The two return to the safari, and Changgu keeps his word. He tells Seo everything, leaving the young boy pretty upset. He hates being kept in the dark, but Changgu just wanted to shield him. But Seo is not really listening, completely ignoring all his excuses. Things could have gone horribly wrong if Changgu had not spoken up earlier. Watching from afar, Mina finally understands why Sehan wanted them watch closely. With their ideas sorted, the next move is to defeat the beast Kai Wang. Mina is absolutely stunned that he wants to take such a risk again. She decides to let him do his thing while she finishes her own mission. But this is a bad move, especially since Kai Wang is likely hunting him. Sehan was too busy, and now Mina is paying for her connection to him. Begrudgingly, she heads back to the group to talk about their plans. Seo joins them to discuss their next moves since time is running out. With Changgu acting as a spy, monsters could launch a kidnapping raid anytime. Plus, they only have about 1 week before the Sentinel makes its move. They must fight now, it is their only shot at freedom. Defeating a giant metal monster seems impossible, but watch Sehan work. He believes Seo can level the playing field by crafting a special weapon. A weapon to end the beast. Seo gets it now and he is ready. With the kids on board, they immediately get straight to work. Sehan buys a basic blacksmithing kit straight from his special VIP shop. He sets it up so the young boy can craft easily. Mina asks the kid if he finds this sudden setup a bit strange. But the boy does not care about any of those details. Right now, he is just happy to finally be useful. First Mina was the key part, and now it is Seo's turn. It is clear Sehan planned to recruit and use them from the start. Mina is shocked he chose a kid, but Sehan explains he is only 3 years younger. To her, he looked like an elementary schooler. Next, he requires a barrier. This will isolate the spot and stop anyone else from coming near. Mina is stunned he knows about her power since she just unlocked it. Sehan simply recalls she should have unlocked it by their third quest anyway. Drawing on her past life, she struggles but manages to erect a powerful barrier. No one will notice. Absolutely nothing will leak from this hidden space. That is the insane level of blessing you get from a god-like jester. No wonder Mina survived every single deadly trap in her previous life. It shows why choosing a top god is everything. Meanwhile, Sehan hands Seo materials. These premium resources should let him craft some incredibly high-grade gear. He gathered these from dungeons. Now, what should Seo craft with them? Sehan already has a solid concept, handing the boy a specific design. Seo has never seen a weapon design like this, completely blown away. Yet Sehan is totally confident this weapon will easily defeat Kaelong. The beast stalks the park. It is hunting everywhere for Sehan. It assumed a strong hunter would try to gather the remaining stamps. Since there were no reports, it figured he was not at the safari. As the monster hesitates, a runner approaches. Another beast is here. The messenger reports that the crow is summoning them right now. Looks like this monster is going to have some serious fun today. Get ready. A bear beast warns him that the others are still prepping the assault. But Chilwoon does not care. He does not need help for this task. High above the camp, Mina and a guard keep watch, standing ready. Sehan told them to keep their eyes open for any approaching monsters. They are approaching. Down below, the survivors desperately plan their escape. Before, they ignored all warnings. They refused to evacuate back then. But seeing Mina and Sehan show, their stamps changed their minds instantly. Suddenly, just as Sehan predicted, a heavy rumbling sound echoes nearby. A monster is coming. Mina quickly shifts into her eagle form. Soaring high to get a clear view, she spots the oncoming threat. It is the furious Chilwoon, and he looks ready to kill. She flies back, warning the guard that the sentinel is closing in. The guard runs off. he urges everyone to move much faster. Nobody expected this speed. Mina needs to escape right now. But Sehan helped her so much that she cannot just leave. She feels a deep bond growing, refusing to abandon him now. Her only option, go out there and distract the incoming monster. Does she have the strength? Suddenly, Changu appears behind her. He tells her to stand down. She does not have to risk her life. He will distract the sentinel entirely on his own. Fleeing now would feel completely wrong. He must make up for his past cowardice, even if he is too weak. He can at least buy the others some precious time. With that, he charges the monster. Still, Sehan is nowhere to be seen. Fear spreads as the crowd hears Chilwoon is heading straight for them. The swordsman is ready to pay for acting as Chilwoon's spy. He is prepared to buy them some time, no matter the cost. He finally reaches the beast. Quietly, he drops to his knees. Still faking his loyalty, he offers to lead Chilwoon through a shortcut, allowing him to hunt down the fleeing survivors even faster. But Sehan, it turned down the offer, having realized Changu's plan to buy some time. Right now, the beast had zero interest in wasting time on his pointless struggles. Clearly, Changu had some sort of hidden motive for rushing straight toward the beast. With no other options left, Changu prepares to battle the monster as long as possible. These two opponents haven't faced each other in what feels like an eternity. The sentinel is eager to see if its spy has actually grown any stronger. Changu makes the first move, rushing forward to strike before the monster can react. But Chilwoon is not bothered at all by this sudden, desperate assault. It casually swats Changu's attempt away like an annoying little bug. Speed means absolutely nothing if he cannot land a clean, solid hit. Bracing for impact, he watches as the massive creature pulls its fist back. The beast winds up for an incredibly heavy, ground-shattering punch. Its massive arm slams down, only to suddenly crumble and shatter apart. Shocking the beast, Sehan steps forward, calmly holding a powerful weapon. This brand new gear was built specifically to counter and destroy this sentinel. The monster really should have used better armor before this fight. Chilwoon bellows in pure rage, but beneath that roar lies utter disbelief. Sehan actually broke its arm, wielding a devastating tool called the pile bunker. Our main character vows to smash the sentinel's defense to absolute pieces. Meanwhile, Mina is soaring high above, keeping the form of a majestic eagle. She is busy executing a special task for Sehan when she spots Seo. Swooping down, she reaches him while he is safely inside her protective barrier. Seo immediately invites her inside the barrier, claiming this is the safest place for them both. He might be right, but she still doubts how Sehan will beat this beast. Suddenly, a loud explosion rings out, catching both of them completely off guard. Out there, the brutal battle is already reaching an intense climax. Sehan is expertly dodging every single strike the massive monster throws. One solid hit would finish him, but our main character is too fast. It seems Chilwoon is even slower now, its balance ruined after losing an arm. Now it is just punching blindly into empty space. Sehan easily evades everything while waiting for his primary weapon to power up. Once it recharges, he can end this entire clash. Only 1 minute remains. This means the massive sentinel has exactly 1 minute left to live. The beast cannot comprehend that a mere human is trying to slay a sentinel, especially since they are only on the third quest of this game. Driven by sheer pride, it strikes again, convinced it is absolutely invincible. But Sehan holds the clear advantage. Suddenly, the pile bunker finally recharges. Leaping onto Chilwoon's shoulder, he presses the weapon right against its giant head. Sensing real danger, the massive sentinel desperately tries to negotiate a truce. It promises to stop hunting humans, but Sehan is not buying its lies. Not even for a second, there is absolutely nothing left to discuss here. Keeping his word, he fires the pile bunker, completely obliterating the monster's head. With the threat eliminated, Sehan unlocks a brand new title, Sentinel Hunter. It gives great rewards, boosting his damage against sentinels by 30%. He tries to act casual, but taking down a sentinel is no small feat. Still, it is not something to take lightly. He barely managed to survive this deadly clash. He survived, but Chilwoon is now dead. Changu slowly emerges from his hiding spot. The surrounding forest area is completely destroyed, leaving absolutely nothing left in its wake. Even a metal-eating Bulgasari could not have survived such terrifying destruction. This devastation came from the weapons. Changu has so many questions. Sehan notices too many watching eyes. It is not just the standard observers. In fact, the fleeing survivors are also hiding in the bushes and watching the whole thing. Now that the sentinel is dead, the crowd begins moving to escape the park. However, Mina suddenly realizes that Chil-woon was actually just a mid-tier boss for this zone. This means a far stronger boss still awaits them, which is terrifying. Everyone freezes in their tracks. They stare at her with absolute terror and shock. Mina attempts to play it cool, but Sehan quickly clamps his hand right over her mouth. He stops her before she leaks more. They must explain things to the survivors first. Once that is done, it will finally be time to put an end to Kara's. Meanwhile, footage of Sehan defeating Chil-woon starts spreading rapidly across the God forums. Now everyone is paying serious attention to him, and a user named Greek Boss logs online. Logging in after a long time, he is very interested in Sehan. Sehan has defeated a sentinel for the second time now, defying all odds. He achieved this despite not being an avatar, drawing endless questions toward the young jester. Her avatar is always nearby, yet she refuses to share a single detail. The queries keep coming, but she ignores them. Instead, she focuses entirely on the boy who has caused such a massive stir. Sehan becomes more fascinating to her with each passing moment. The big question on her mind now is how he plans to deal with the Crow constellation. Mina approaches Sehan, eagerly asking if he obtained any loot from the battle. He did get a reward this time, a rare grimoire that looks like an ordinary rock. Despite its plain appearance, it holds an incredibly powerful rank skill inside. This skill grants the power of a Bulgasari, allowing the user to consume absolutely any metal. They can turn eaten metal into parts of their own body, which is crazy. He could transform his body into rare materials like orichalcum, which is extremely hard to find. This makes it a rare, top-tier skill. Mina instantly feels a wave of jealousy. Wait, here is the kicker. She is stunned when Sehan suddenly hands it over. Surprisingly, he hands her the grimoire, believing it will be much more beneficial to her. With her unique transformation powers, this ability will make her absolutely lethal in combat. With it, she can easily change her very hands into powerful weapons during intense battles. Since this is a single-use item, once she absorbs it, it is gone forever. Because once she consumes it, nobody else can ever get it, so she naturally hesitates to take it. But Sehan urges her to take it. She suddenly acts incredibly shy about the gesture. She is strangely shy, despite her loud personality. Sehan reassures her. He explains that she earned this reward by fighting alongside him all this time. After a bit more prompting, Mina finally takes the item and completely absorbs its energy. She successfully unlocks the Bulgasari skill. Too bad she is not in his party. Otherwise, they could have easily shared their skills, but as an avatar, he keeps his distance. If she joined, her core transformation abilities would actually be restricted anyway. Keeping things separate is a win-win. Meanwhile, the watching crowd remains utterly stunned. They rush toward the exit while players fight off the approaching monsters. Meanwhile, Sehan uses an orichalcum tool to disable the dangerous collars. He frees the captured players one by one with quick precision. But too many are still trapped. Saving everyone will take time. Mina catches up to him and says they still have a job. To do, they need that final stamp to clear the ride. Running away will not solve this, so Sehan calls a collar-wearing park employee over, figuring that this particular worker must carry the stamp. Mina doubts the plan will succeed, but the staff member immediately complies. The moment the ink hits her arm, a quest completion notification pops up. There is no reward, proving this task was meant to be incredibly simple. This means they never needed to face all that brutal struggle and danger on the rides. Armed with this trick, they can now easily clear other player quests. But this shortcut does not apply to Sehan. His goal is entirely different. Meanwhile, back inside the castle, the crow Karas is calling for Chil-woon. He has not seen his giant sentinel for a whole day now. Suddenly, a small rodent monster arrives to answer the call. It brings terrible news, reporting that Chil-woon has likely been killed. Karas is confused, initially thinking the messenger meant generic player casualties. But the rodent minion repeats the terrifying news with absolute certainty. Chil-woon, the mighty sentinel, is dead, slain by the players. They struck so fast the local monsters could not even react. Reeling from the shock, Karas orders a total purge of the remaining humans. Every beast must hunt the safari survivors, but a new problem arises. The hunting packs are already there, and they report total silence. The target zone is completely abandoned, a revelation that pushes Kara's over the edge. He transforms in pure rage as Sehan watches the skywarp. The dark energy signals one thing: Kara's is finally making his move. The surviving players are heading toward the exit, but progress is slow. The injured lag behind, dragging the pace down to Changu's frustration. Sehan meets up with Changu. The escape has been smooth so far. But this escape is not over until every single person crosses the threshold. The big question is if they will even be allowed to leave. The crow is bound to hunt them down, and right on cue, giant black wings appear. The massive shadow lands directly in front of Sehan and Changu. The sheer pressure radiating from this entity proves his lethal power. A massive shockwave of wind erupts as the beast unfurls his wings. Players stumble back, shielding their eyes from the blinding gale. Kara's the giant crow has arrived, and his fury is absolutely terrifying. This is no ordinary foe. Even Sehan has not felt this level of dread in ages. He felt the pressure against Orga, but he still held the tactical advantage. Jiaowung surprised him with fast strikes, but never truly scared him. But right now, a strange weight sits heavily on his chest. It is the heavy, unfamiliar burden of keeping all these desperate survivors alive. In his past life, he would have abandoned them without a second thought. Things have changed. Sehan swings around, telling everyone to run while he buys them time. He will keep the constellation busy. Mina acts instantly, taking charge of the panicked retreat. She orders them to stop staring and move, but Karis will not just sit back. He refuses to let them escape, raining down razor-sharp feathers like deadly black daggers. They fly toward the crowd. Sehan activates his final hour skill to rush in. He blocks every attack. Karis is visibly stunned that a human actually stopped him. Still, Sehan cannot keep this up forever. A wide-range attack from the crow would be fatal. Protecting the civilians would be impossible. He needs a different strategy, and fast. Instead of fighting head-on, Sehan starts talking. He mockingly addresses the divine bird. The insults are loud and direct, but the constellation finds the defiance utterly hilarious. Sehan keeps pushing. He reminds Karis that a high god had to fetch scraps himself. That hits a nerve. The petty insult chips away at Karis's massive, fragile ego. The crow spreads his dark wings wide, completely ready to tear the insect apart. It worked. He has the constellation's full attention now. He just has to buy time. With half of the crowd still trying to flee, his job is clear: keep delaying. 30 minutes, that is all he needs. He has prepared for this his entire life. Karis launches off the ground like a bullet, targeting Sehan, who instantly triggers a skill. Shadow Rush activates. He merges into the ground, slipping away right before the massive strike. Sehan forces himself to remain calm as the giant bird circles above, hunting him. Karis completely outclasses him in raw speed and power. It is not even close. But our main character has survival skills and specific, unique items to turn the tide. He leaps high into the air, just as the crow dives down for another strike. In midair, Sehan triggers his guaranteed shot ability, locking onto his airborne target. He fires a sharp blade. Normally, the agile constellation would dodge this with ease. But the guaranteed shot skill forces the attack to track the target's movements. The projectile hits its mark, almost. Karis is forced to react instantly. He halts mid-flight to snatch the blade before slamming violently back down to earth. The heavy impact shatters the pavement, sending massive stone debris flying everywhere. Sehan easily dodges the rocks, but Karis uses the rising dust cloud as cover. He lunges forward through the smoke, aiming his sharp talons directly at Sehan's feet. Sehan barely leaps out of the way, but a claw grazes his cheek. Blood spills. He backs away. The fight continues, and Karis is losing his patience. The god is done playing games. He slowly raises a single hand into the air. Sehan instantly recognizes the terrifying power the constellation is about to unleash. This divine energy is far greater than anything he had originally anticipated. Things are about to get ugly. The massive crow soars high into the sky. With a powerful sweep of its wings, it launches a heavy volley of sharp feathers. They completely blanket the area. Sehan has no choice but to brace for impact. The barrage is relentless. The giant crow continues showering him with deadly quills. Left with zero options, Sehan is forced to activate his Celestial Slayer skill. His speed surges instantly. Karis is stunned as the human moves like a ghost. He easily avoids the deadly feathers under the Celestial Slayer buff. And his rapid regeneration skill, his bleeding wounds begin to close right up. Combining these broken powers, stalling for a little while longer will be easy. In fact, looking around, it seems almost everyone has successfully escaped the park. Is only looking to buy a bit more time. This forces Karis to unleash his full, terrifying power. Sehan can barely believe how insane this situation has become. His plan hinges entirely on everyone escaping, but Karis is still convinced he can slaughter them all. Once done, he will exit this dimension. Best of all, in this new form, he is no longer confined to the amusement park. Honestly, letting Karis gain this much power feels like straight-up cheating. He activated a succession skill, boosting his stats beyond reason. This makes him far stronger than anyone should be at this stage. Karis begins his attack. He is now so blindingly fast that Sehan has absolutely zero chance of dodging without using a high-tier skill, so Sehan triggers Shadow Rush. Again to slip past a fatal strike. Using that split second, he retreats. Karis is genuinely impressed that Sehan has survived this long. He clearly is not some average player. The massive crow takes to the sky, flapping his wings to unleash razor-sharp blades of wind. These crushing gale forces tear through everything. Somehow Sehan manages to dodge every single strike and stay standing, but the entire area is now a wasteland. Worse, time has already run out for an escape. With no cover left in sight, Karis closes in on our main character, coldly grabbing him by the throat to end it right now. Karis is ready to crush Sehan, but our hero still has a final message for him. Sehan mocks Karis. Next time victory seems guaranteed. Do not waste so much time gloating. Right then, the last of the innocent civilians finally make it out of the park. This officially completes Sehan's third main quest, unlocking the shop so he can purchase his first playthrough transfer package. He buys it instantly, activating a legendary S-tier skill called Proof of Transcendence. Karis barely has a second to react before he starts hacking up blood. Sehan caught him completely off guard, driving his spear straight into the giant bird's stomach. Despite the sudden ambush, Karis managed to shift slightly to prevent a direct hit to his vitals. This Proof of Transcendence is a broken S-tier growth ability. It grants the user a massive 100% boost to all stats, while dealing devastating damage to divine beings for 30 minutes. However, after activating this, it triggers a 30-day cooldown. Karis drops Sehan in pain, retreating into the sky before another strike can land. The god is stunned that a mere player possesses this level of divinity without being an avatar. He has no choice left. He must fight with everything he has to defeat Sehan for good. Karis unleashes another deadly torrent of sharp feathers right at him, but with his stats doubled, Sehan easily dodges every single one of them. He then takes aim and hurls another spear. The giant crow is confident it will miss, but Sehan's guaranteed shot ability is completely unavoidable. Karis conjures a defensive barrier of wind, but the spear effortlessly shatters right through. It pierces Karis before he can even blink, slamming him hard into the ground. Still, the spear fails to pierce his heart. Even with both buff skills active, somehow Karis still has enough strength left. He takes to the sky again, raining down deadly feathers. With no time to dodge, Sehan summons a shield to block them. He watches the incoming strikes and forces his body to move despite the extreme strain. Heavy feathers slam against Sehan's shield. He responds by hurling another spear. The weapon flies true. It impales itself straight into Karis's thigh. He crashes down. This devastating strike forces the giant crow to the dirt. Sehan stands over his helpless foe, asking if he finally feels fear. No way. Karis absolutely refuses to accept that a mere human has won. He screeches that Sehan is merely a tiny glitch in the system. It is hopeless. The gap in their raw power is just too wide. Sehan effortlessly deflects every single desperate projectile that Karis throws at him. The end is near. Karis tries one last massive blast of dark energy. Sehan slips away using Shadow Rush, closing the distance to land a final blow. A futile effort. Karis barely blocks the strike with a thick feather shield. The sudden impact completely shatters Sehan's weapon, leaving him entirely disarmed. With no other choice, he leaps straight at Karis despite being completely barehanded. He strikes. Karis easily intercepts him, slamming the young warrior into the dirt. It looks like the tables have turned, but Karis hesitates to gloat. He scoffs, mocking Sehan for letting a temporary upper hand make him arrogant. A fatal mistake. This arrogant display is exactly what Sehan was waiting for. He warns the beast once more about wasting time talking during a battle. Grabbing the spear lodged in the beast's body, he drives it deeper. Silenced, the monstrous crow collapses right against Sehan, completely devoid of life. Meanwhile, in the supreme heavenly realm, the Korean server's game master, Arades, watches closely. Target confirmed. He stares at a glowing status screen displaying Sehan's profile. Since Karis illegally descended to Earth and died, Arades faces a massive headache. A complete defeat, the crow fell to Sehan's insanely broken power. This is highly problematic, since constellations face power caps in this current update. Ultimately, Arades decides to keep quiet and sweep this under the rug. A minor god, nobody will even notice his absence for some time. Even so, the administrator intends to monitor Sehan's every single move from now on. Wait for it, this is where things get truly wild for Sehan. Soon, the third quest wraps up, triggering a massive system-wide game update. A massive change, the main scenario shifts to an open-world format. Users can now use subways to travel and take on multiple quests simultaneously. New features, side quests unlock, and massive guild creation is finally active. Up next is the highly anticipated main quest, featuring a massive world raid. Total chaos, legendary raid bosses will spawn in every single region. Fighting these beasts rewards valuable points and extremely rare, high-tier loot. Meanwhile, Sehan and Mina review the patch notes together, analyzing their options. Quiet moments, they enjoy some peaceful downtime inside a dusty, abandoned diner. Surprisingly, the system grants an unusually long time limit for this raid. Not surprising, most players lag far behind and need more time. Changu and Su are nearby, cementing this newly formed four-person party. Su manages to repair Sehan's broken gear while he recovers his strength. He is back, having fully healed from battle. Sehan plots next steps. Overcoming those severe wounds actually leveled up his regeneration from F rank to E rank. His next destination is Daejeon, a region safely away from the active raid. He's heading there because he heard they sell great bread, and he's got other business to handle too. Tasks to finish there. Mina sighs because this is just typical mysterious behavior for Sehan. She is totally used to his cryptic antics by now, however, she refuses to follow him. She won't follow him. Suddenly, young Jester's observer slams against the window. It is obvious she wants Mina to stay with Sehan. She's definitely watching them right now. Fortunately, Kara's veil of darkness completely blocked out the area during their intense battle. Because of this, none of the observers saw Kara's get his heart pierced. Still, young Jester keeps acting up, aggressively moving her observer around. But Mina stands firm on her decision. This time, she is not budging. With her mind made up, Sehan makes an interesting proposal to Mina and the Song brothers. He wants them to join a brand new guild he plans to build. Mina immediately passes. Changu Song worries that in his current weak state, he will only be a burden. His younger brother Suzong, though, is hyped to join Sehan's guild, begging Changu to agree. Sehan tells everyone to relax. There is absolutely no pressure to join. Right now, they should just do whatever they are most comfortable with. Still, getting them in his guild is a massive win, since Suzong will become a top craftsman. And Changu Song's raw power easily rivals that of a god's chosen avatar. Plus, his rare mind's eye ability shows insane potential for the future. After some thought, they all agree to join Sehan's new guild. With the crew secured, Sehan prepares to head over to Daejeon by train. He boards a train heading straight for Daejeon Station, but on the other side, rogue players from the Waning Crescent Guild are trying to hijack the entire train. Terrified passengers immediately start running away from these armed, dangerous thugs. Right in the middle of this chaos, Jisoo steps onto the train and spots them. Meanwhile, Sehan sits near the front, hearing a massive commotion starting from behind. He notices the noise and casually assumes a monster must have spawned nearby. But he is not worried at all since most passengers here are active players. They should be able to handle it themselves without any trouble. Instead of stressing over the noise, Sehan checks out his latest quest rewards. To his surprise, the loot from the third quest looks pretty ordinary. It is a bit of a letdown to get common items after surviving everything. Still, his first reward is a neat passive skill called Hunter's Instinct. It lets him track and pinpoint a monster's exact location from its footprints. And from defeating Kara's, he scores the big jackpot, becoming the Crow Constellation's master. He also inherits Kara's signature abilities, like Eye of the Crow and Veil of Darkness, but unlocking the Crow's full power requires more divinity. As his divine power steadily grows, even stronger abilities will become available. For now, Eye of the Crow lets him summon scouts to watch from above. There is no limit to his summons, but managing too many at once gets pretty difficult. Next up is the Veil of Darkness, a skill that lets him melt into shadows. This version operates a bit differently from the one Kara's used before. Its actual strength likely depends on the unique nature of its user. Even though he only unlocked low-tier divinity, it is still a massive advantage. Plus, he might finally locate a specific god's observer lurking in Dejian. This god is a compassionate witch who cared for humanity but had a dark side. Living and dying for Sehan is just how it goes. With nothing to do, Sehan decides to take a quick nap until they reach Dejian. Meanwhile, on the other side of the train, a lone player runs for his life as his allies are slaughtered like bugs. He knows this killer is definitely the legendary girl from the rumors. She wears all black and has dark hair, but when it turns red, nobody escapes. He desperately keeps running, but a heavy blow suddenly cracks the back of his skull, slamming him hard down. Jisoo stands over him. Looking terrifying, she leaves him zero chance of escape. He frantically begs for mercy, swearing he will never pull a stunt like this again if she spares him. But Jisoo does not buy his pathetic lies for a second. Instead, she flashes a chilling smile and reaches out to end his life. The train finally reaches Dejian Station. The doors open and terrified passengers burst out screaming. Sehan steps out from his cabin, feeling pretty confused by all the frantic noise. He gets his answer immediately as a familiar figure walks calmly down the stairs. She greets him with a massive, happy smile. It is Jisoo. Sehan had absolutely no clue. They were even on the same train. Meeting up, he asks if she finished her mission. Turns out she wrapped it up quickly, then she boarded the train right after. Spotting Sehan on the passenger list, she was constantly tracking his exact map location. Just to make sure they would reunite. That is pretty stalker-like. Talk about a seriously obsessive companion, but Sehan wisely decides to keep quiet. Still, knowing his location meant she knew he was in the Lam world, fighting that giant crow would have been so much easier if Jisoo had actually been there. She wanted to run over instantly, but the third main quest suddenly started. It was not hard for her, but she still had lots of random chores to handle. That is why she was late. Sehan confesses he is here for the boss. Jisoo shows zero surprise at his wild plan to fight the boss. She does not ask why, because she is totally used to his crazy antics. In fact, she would support him, even if he had traveled all this way just to buy some local bread. Hearing her say that is honestly pretty weird to him. Sehan is not sure if she holds him in incredibly high regard or is just unhinged. Either way, they start heading toward their destination together. Sehan explains the plan on all the details. Meanwhile, back in Seoul, specifically over in Sealung, Mina walks through the streets, looking for some people Sehan told her about. She does not know their exact location and has been walking for hours. Still unable to find them, she remembers the distinct traits Sehan wrote down. He described a family of two with bright blonde hair. They should be easy to spot, even though his actual drawings are pretty rough. The father is a massive American guy who apparently has a really weird laugh. And his daughter is a 13-year-old mixed-race girl. A brutal monster attack clearly just tore through this neighborhood, leaving many dead. As she navigates the ruins, a terrifying wolf monster leaps out to ambush her. But Mina is completely ready. She whips around to destroy the creature. But before she can land a strike, someone else moves even faster. A massive slab of concrete crashes directly onto the beast, crushing it. Mina immediately turns to see who could have thrown that heavy chunk. Spotting two people who perfectly match the exact descriptions, Mina walks up to greet them, thanking the man for helping her defeat the monster. Hearing him laugh, it is exactly as Sehan described, but his daughter quickly cuts him off before he can embarrass her any further. The young girl notices from the gods watching her that Mina actually seems stronger than her dad. Now she must confirm their names. He is Luke Taylor and his daughter is Lynn. They are the very people Sehan wanted to find. Mina asks to join their upcoming journey. The guy just threw a massive block of concrete, proving he is a player. But she remains unsure about the girl. Still, Luke happily welcomes her into their group, though Lynn has doubts about helping someone so powerful. While they bicker, Mina steps away to send a quick message to Sehan. She confirms that she found the exact targets. Traveling with them makes sense, especially since Sehan highly recommended it. He he even called them. The future of humanity. Over in Dijon, soldiers march through the ruined streets with heavy weapons, scanning the area for monsters. Society seems to be slowly picking up the pieces. Suddenly, a soldier approaches them. As they look around, demanding to know if they are registered players, an order went out to inspect everyone. The government is trying to regulate all active players in this chaos, but Sehan has zero interest in answering. Instead, he whispers to Jisoo, telling her to run toward a skyscraper in the distance. They split up and leap away before the soldier can even react, landing safely on a high rooftop. Jisoo approaches Sehan, asking why they ran all the way up here. Sehan wants to test his brand new skill, Eye of the Crow, to scan the entire area for the local raid boss. Eerie black crows erupt from his shadow, soaring high into the sky. It is still a basic skill that needs leveling, but it gives him a perfect bird's eye view. While the birds search, he asks to check her stats. Jisoo is completely willing, as she always agrees to his requests. When he opens her window, her stats look shockingly strong for a normal player. On top of that, she unlocked 2 new skills, Anatomy Mastery and Vital Strike. She also boosted her regeneration to C rank, while her Celestial Slayer skill climbed up to a 3-star level. That is highly unusual, since she should show signs of deep madness at this stage. But as he inspects her, he gets a sudden mental signal. His crows have spotted something below. They rush to the marked location. Looking at the sheer wreckage, they know this was no ordinary monster. This level of devastation only happens when a raid boss is around. Jisoo asks how he knows so much, but he stays quiet. Honestly, a raid boss spawning this early makes no sense. There are still hours left on the clock, but system timers lie. It is all just a dirty lie. Looking down, he spots massive claw marks and feather tracks. It looks like a flying beast fought a terrestrial one. But in reality, a single terrifying monster caused all this. Suddenly, that very monster slams down right behind them, slashing out with giant, razor-sharp claws. The creature is a gungi, a massive black tiger boasting giant white wings. It is also one of the 4 legendary mythical beasts from ancient Chinese lore. Sehan figured he would need to search for ages, but instead the monster came straight to them. This means the dungeon is close by, since the beast was lurking right around it. Suddenly, the 4th main quest pops up, tasking them with slaying the beast before it completely levels the city. Sehan and Jisoo encountered it much faster than expected, which explains why they alone received the notification. Jisoo also catches a heavy metallic scent of blood nearby, while Sehan spots a massive horn lodged deep inside the gungi's chest, proof it recently fought another powerful beast. The creature lunges at Sehan one last time, then abruptly retreats. That mysterious horn inside its chest should not be present at this point, according to Sehan's memories of his previous life. The future is already beginning to drift from what he remembers. Once the beast retreats, Sehan dashes into the dungeon. Jisoo follows closely on his heels. Just as he suspected, this place was not the tiger's home at all. It belonged to a Kirin, a sacred, one-horned divine beast. That horn, packed with divine energy, is now wedged inside the chest of the already powerful gungi. The Kirin's horn holds massive amounts of latent power, serving as the beast's true source of strength. Sehan originally planned to harvest the Kirin's horn while tracking down the gungi, but those plans are completely ruined now. If the tiger absorbs that legendary energy, it will become an absolute nightmare to deal with. Jisoo suggests they scout the area for any hidden rewards left behind. However, the dungeon level is relatively low, meaning there is probably nothing here valuable enough to replace the loss of the Kirin's horn. But then, Jisoo suddenly spots a peculiar object glittering amidst the piles of rubble. Sehan wonders if she found mithril, the legendary metal second only to orichalcum, but even mithril would not make up for losing the horn. And get this, Jisoo actually found an egg. It is no ordinary egg. It is the egg of a divine Kirin. Under normal circumstances, a new Kirin hatches when a parent incubates it for centuries, but now that they have retrieved it, they can hatch it themselves to raise their own powerful divine beast. Sehan immediately buys top-tier gear from his premium shop, preparing all the advanced tools needed to successfully hatch the Kirin egg and bring a brand new legendary companion into the world. After getting everything ready, they only need to drop a player's blood onto the shell to activate the hatching process. That blood must be applied within the next 2 days, and it will directly alter the beast's ultimate power and skill sets. Sehan knows they can find far superior blood than his own, so He initially considers using Jisu's. However, her unique abilities might cause major complications down the line. Next, he considers Mina, since finding another top-tier player on short notice is virtually impossible. Mina's overall combat abilities are already well above average, making her a solid candidate. Right as he is weighing his options, Mina sends him a text message that arrives at the absolute perfect moment she is currently waiting with. A family of 2 survivors among the ruined buildings. Sehan has yet to reply, leaving her completely in the dark about whether he will actually show up. Eventually, he finally responds to her message asking for her coordinates. He does not even thank her for her hard work. Annoyed, she replies with their location. Then, after a brief, tense moment of silence, Jisoo and Sehan suddenly materialize right behind her, heavily sweating and panting for air. It looks like they sprinted the entire way from Daejeon. Luke steps forward to cautiously greet the newcomers, while his daughter remains hidden behind. Sehan introduces himself and Ju, making Luke suspect Mina must have already shared his name. It is their very first meeting, yet Sehan acts like they are old friends. Once the introductions finish, Sehan turns to Mina, who is still visibly sulking. She wanted some praise for her hard work, so he hands over a special thank you gift. He presents her with a rare mythal ore that she can consume to absorb its power. Mina can barely believe she received such an incredibly rare and valuable item. All her frustration completely melts away as she holds the prize, while Sehan approaches Lin. He displays the mysterious creature's egg, explaining that he needs her assistance to wake it. All she has to do is touch it, but she is still visibly terrified of what might happen. Seeing her hesitation, Luke reassures her to go ahead since Sehan does not seem dangerous. Trusting them, she slowly reaches out to touch the shell, and a sharp point suddenly shoots out. It pierces her finger, drawing a drop of blood, while Sehan quickly makes an excuse. He smoothly lies, claiming the rough outer shell must have just scratched her. With Daejeon finished, the machine draws her blood to activate the Kirin fruit. Next, he just has to supply some nourishment and wait patiently for the shell to open. Mina steps forward, questioning why she had to locate these 2 specific players in the first place. It is hard to explain, but he promises she will understand everything eventually. For now, he just wants her to remain by their side as long as possible. That should be easy given their trust, and honestly, who doesn't love a shiny reward? Initially, Sehan thought his regression meant he could solo this entire game alone. He believed his past knowledge was enough, but he recently realized a crucial truth. The unexpected changes in Kaz and the Minotaur proved that the old rules no longer apply. He has to account for system interference, which is exactly why he recruited Lynn Taylor. She is a legendary talent who astounded the gods, standing at the absolute peak of humanity. Once the blood catalyst is introduced, the egg swells and prepares to hatch. As it trembles, Sehan tells Lin she does not need to address him so formally. But Mina quickly points out that he is 10 whole years older than her. She teases him about calling him Mr. as well, being 4 years his junior. The playful teasing immediately annoys Jisoo, prompting Mina to quickly claim it was just a joke. She laughs to escape that sharp, terrifying glare, signaling it is time for business. Mina asks if they are heading back to Daejeon, but Sehan knows he cannot win. Confronting the devastating raid boss right now would only end in a swift defeat. Mina assumes the monster has not even spawned, but Jisoo corrects her assumption. They already survived one clash, so they step aside to fill her in. They explain how the massive raid boss possesses strength comparable to a terrifying sentinel. While a sentinel might strike harder, this behemoth has an absurdly massive health pool. That endless life bar makes it infinitely more exhausting and difficult to put down. Adding to the nightmare, its sweeping attack range utterly dwarfs that of any standard sentinel. The sheer destruction it can cause is unfathomable, meaning Sehan must eliminate it quickly. But rushing in now is suicide, especially since the other players are completely unprepared. But here is the catch: there is an entirely new variable with this beast. It is actively absorbing a Kirin horn, forcing Sehan to search his memories. He desperately tries to recall if this horrific fusion occurred in his previous timeline. Perhaps his choice to visit Daejeon this time has completely altered the original future. Earlier life, but the raid boss attacks them by surprise, acting as if it had been expecting them. It even left obvious clues as if it was trying to lure them in. Plus, the Gungi clashed with the Kirin way too. Soon, it has not even been 3 days since the announcement. Too many. Things make no sense. The more Sehan thinks about it, the weirder It gets is the game system meddling with him again, or is there another explanation? One suspect comes to mind: Arati's Korea's game master, a god, who sits on his throne, watching a replay of Sehan and Jae-soo fighting the Gungi. The deity never expected a normal player to escape so easily, or even steal something from the dungeon. It is likely a Kirin fruit, though Arcadis is convinced that Sehan has no idea how to hatch it, even if it really is one. The real question is why the Gungi is so weak. It's completely drained just from a horn stuck in its rib. Arcadis even offered a chance to absorb that horn, yet it remains feeble, so he decides to subtly alter the scales. Without being too obvious, he starts by giving its regeneration and adaptability skills a slight boost. With this tiny nudge, it could eventually grow into an unstoppable monster. 2 weeks later, right before the raid boss is scheduled to spawn, Sehan and Jae-soo return to Daejeon. The army has a massive force stationed in the area compared to before. They want to prove their previous loss was merely a result of being completely unprepared. But this strategy is highly foolish, since firearms simply do not work against these beasts. While guns might not deal real damage, they still sting. However, they are entirely useless against a raid boss. It would be far better if players stepped up instead. By taking charge, those players would gain immense social influence. The government recently clawed back some authority after the open world was unveiled, and they desperately want to keep it. Jae-soo hates this political game but has no power to change it. Sehan tells her to head over to where the other players are gathering. There are definitely far more players in Daejeon than in his past life. Most of them seem to be looking for strong teammates to tackle the raid boss, while others simply wait for the quest to begin. Suddenly, a random player approaches Sehan, asking him to join their squad, but Sehan instantly rejects the offer. He does not plan on partying up. The guy keeps nagging him, assuming Sehan is only acting tough to show off for Jae-soo. This arrogant player thinks guys like him are just begging to get killed. Sehan and Jae-soo ignore him entirely. The annoyed recruiter stomps off, convinced they will both learn a painful lesson soon. It is highly obvious, though, that the guy was only trying to impress Jae-soo himself. He badly wants her in his party, and honestly, you have to laugh at how clueless he is. Jae-soo overhears his smug remarks and offers to put him in his place. Sehan, however, stops her and suggests they just keep moving. After all, they will be the very first to strike once the raid boss finally spawns. Strolling through the busy crowd, Sehan spots Dongyuan Park sneaking around the streets. Dongyuan catches sight of Sehan too, instantly covering his face in a desperate hide. It is completely futile, and Sehan corners him before he can slip away. Dongyuan quickly explains that Yang Yun traveled to Cheonju to see his family, leaving Dongyuan to handle things here in Daejeon. Eyeballing the guy's high-grade new gear, Sehan realizes that Dongyuan must have hit the jackpot during his third quest, gaining. Plus, he's got new skills, though definitely not a divine succession ability just yet. You can't get those through normal means, since only a chosen avatar receives them. That's what makes those powers insane. The god Yang Yun must have sent Dongyuan here. Hoping to dig deeper, Sehan pulls up the god forums for a quick check. Unsurprisingly, the community is still buzzing about his legendary victory over Karis. Everyone is betting he's in Daejeon right now, where the real action is. Meanwhile, young Jester is still throwing a tantrum because Mina refused to follow him. But she teases that he actually left a rather fascinating gift behind. Even with everyone begging for details, she keeps her mouth shut about it. Obviously, she's talking about that precious Kirin fruit and keeping it hidden. She's not exactly the sharing type, and luckily, Luke Taylor's goddess is just as tight-lipped. Her lips are sealed. Sehan then turns his focus back to Dongyuan. He bluntly asks him if he mastered that crowd manipulation skill. Dongyuan tries to play dumb, but Sehan just flashes the collar control crystal. That does the trick. Dongyuan quickly breaks down and admits the truth. Sehan starts to order him to activate it, but his scout Crow spots danger. Ice in his voice, Sehan commands him to trigger that power right now. He must do it, if not, everyone here is going to die. A terrifying raid boss is rushing their position, aiming to ambush the unprepared players. It is way ahead of schedule, meaning it's hunting for a quick pre-fight snack. The guy wants to feed early. Too bad Dongyuan is painfully slow to react. Sehan yells out, warning the crowd to run, but nobody buys his story. After all, they still have 10 minutes on the clock before the scheduled spawn. They think he is lying, so they just ignore him. Words are totally useless. Sehan sprints straight back to order Dongyuan once more. He barks another order to use the crowd control, but there is a catch. The target mines have to be vulnerable enough for Dongyuan to breach them. So Sehan commands Jai-Su to draw her blade and get ready. The plan is simple. Once he signals her, she is smashing a nearby fire hydrant. That massive distraction will give Dongyuan the perfect opening to cast his spell. Wait for the monster to strike, then trigger the chaos. Dongyuan nods, though he is highly skeptical the monster is actually showing up. Panic easily, no way, but Sehan knows exactly what is coming. Brace for impact. A violent tremor suddenly shakes the entire city. The laughter dies instantly as terror creeps into the eyes of the players. Too late, their timer is still ticking down, but time is up. The ground explodes. A colossal, hairy paw slams directly towards Sehan. He barely intercepts the crushing blow with his pile bunker before Jai-Su leaps in. With brutal force, she slams the limb down, eliciting a deafening, agonizing roar. Reality hits the players like a truck. Meanwhile, the military forces open fire. A hail of heavy gunfire and rockets rains down on the emerging beast. They unleash absolute hell, but as the smoke begins to clear. Untouched, the absolute nightmare stands tall as the soldiers retreat in horror. The beast slowly advances, letting out another roar that blasts the remaining mist. It looks entirely different now, boasting a thick coat of pure white fur. Turned black, large red spikes grow all over its body as it begins evolving into its final form. This is going to be a huge problem if it finishes. Once it fully transforms into its final form, the Gungi will be as powerful as a sentinel. Also, its threat area will expand, making it way harder to handle. It absorbed the horn's power easily, which means the game master is directly involved. The beast roars. It starts attacking the crowd, while soldiers desperately keep up their fire. The soldiers keep firing all their weapons, but the bullets do not harm the beast. A single blast of its icy breath blows everyone back from where they stand. Kim Sehan yells at Dongyuan to execute the plan they talked about earlier. Dongyuan follows the command. He activates his crowd control skill to order everyone to clear the area and let the active players handle the fight. When the civilians try to argue, he points out that their normal weapons are completely useless here. But Dongyun's skill runs out, and the stubborn crowd is still not fully convinced. Kim Sehan realizes the players have just received their fourth main quest. The crowd then charges the raid boss to attack it again. A civilian gets way too close. The colossal monster nearly stomps him into the pavement, but Kim Sehan swoops in and saves his life. The trembling man quickly thanks him. Saying he slipped up, Sehan warns him to watch out, explaining that this beast is deadly for reasons far beyond its massive size. Kim Sehan weighs his options, searching for the perfect weapon. Meanwhile, the civilians finally notice that long-range attacks do not affect the raid boss. Kim Sehan worries about how to deal with the monster, since its final transformation could trigger at any time. Suddenly, the monster's wings expand. It flaps them violently with a loud screech and takes off into the sky. The sheer wind pressure causes destruction to buildings. Seriously, who expected this thing could actually fly? To fly, now they panic, arguing over whether they should run right away. They believe the monster will destroy the whole city if it attacks the ground. Kim Sehan decides to pull the raid boss down before it attacks the ground. He connects his spears with chains and throws them straight at the raid boss. This makes the civilians gasp at his insane strength. Kim Sehan calls out to the crowd, asking them to help him pull down the raid boss with the chains. The civilians see that Han Jaisu has already joined Kim Sehan. They realize that if she can do it, then they can too, so the people join in and start pulling the chains. On command, they all pull it down with a sudden tug. The raid boss falls hard to the ground, but blue currents begin to flow through its body. Kim Sehan wonders if its change into its final stage has begun. To stop it, he leaps high up and stabs his sharp weapon into the raid boss face. But with a loud grunt, the raid boss leaps up again, completely unaffected. This makes Kim Sehan recognize its toughness and strength. Kim Sehan wonders why his attack did not work, as he clearly felt it hit the skull. Han Jaisu tells him to leave it to her, because she is better prepared to deal with the raid boss. After saying that, she stabs her own heart. This is to maximize the Celestial Slayer's effect, which increases the damage output. Her regeneration ability heals the wound immediately. This allows her to move Just like that, Han Jaisu leaps high and lands right on the boss's head. Kim Sehan figures out Han Jaisu's next move and shouts for everyone to back away as far as possible. She slams her weapon directly into the raid boss's head with full force. As the crowd flees in panic, the massive monster crashes face first onto the ground, one final desperate swing of her blade lands, a direct hit. The boss grunts in pain. It thrashes and roars, desperately trying to swipe at Han Jaisu, but she merely readies her weapon to strike. Kim Sehan yells her name, warning her to halt. This fight is getting far too dangerous for comfort. The giant boss, battered by Han Jaisu's relentless heavy attacks, whimpers in agony. It then suddenly clamps its jaws around her, unable to swallow them due to their unique magical defenses. Thrashing wildly in frustration, the creature begins to roar and growl, shaking its head violently. The shocked onlookers can only wonder what is going on with. Suddenly, the beast collapses. It goes completely limp. The crowd begins to edge closer, whispering and trying to figure out if the monster is actually dead. While they investigate the massive carcass, Han Jaisu suddenly climbs right out of its mouth. She calmly walks over to Kim Sehan. Meanwhile, the Rayan region chat server goes absolutely wild. You can practically hear the chat spamming from here. Word spreads fast about how this impossible raid boss was beaten by Kim Sehan and Han Jaisu. Players praise them and Donggun, but things quickly turn suspicious. Users start asking why this specific boss had such absurdly boosted stats. This strange anomaly has them thinking that the game master himself secretly buffed the giant creature's power levels. Another user chiming in asks why everyone is so paranoid. One player quickly explains that the same corrupt administrator was the one who personally took down Karis. One host suggests sending a formal mass complaint. If they do nothing, the administrator could easily start targeting player avatars directly next. To prevent this, they all band together to flood the system with reports. Thanks to this clever plan, devised by Kim Sehan under the alias Anonymous Player 48, the game master Arcades gets shut out from the Korean server for a while. As a reward for this victory, Kim Sehan receives Gungi's rare coat. Reading through the item details, he discovers that the beast had actually evolved to its absolute peak, even before the killing blow. He had a strong hunch about this secret. Now, Han Jaisu shows him her own drop, the dark gem of sacred dissonance sitting in her inventory. After seeing this priceless treasure, Kim Sehan is stunned. His mind starts racing. How they can forge an incredibly overpowered weapon, though they are still missing a few rare crafting ingredients. Even so, he silently thanks the game master Arcades for such a generous drop. Han Jaisu tries handing the gem over, saying she only landed the final strike while he did all the heavy lifting. But he firmly declines. Keep it, he tells her. It will be. She will need this exact piece once she gathers the remaining materials. He adds that his own gold rank reward is more than enough for his efforts. Hearing this, Han Jaisu smiles, revealing she scored a gold rank too. Donggun struts over to brag about landing a silver rank. Both of them find that hard to believe, considering he spent the entire battle running away. But he proudly reminds them that evacuating the crowd kept the entire battlefield secure. Han Jaisu asks Kim Sehan if her jumping into the fray dragged down his score, but he quickly reassures her. Without her help, the battle would have been lost. Things would have lasted much longer. He asks Donggun if there are any tasks, and Donggun confirms that he does. Sehan thinks it would have been better if Donggun stayed behind with Yangyun. Still, he lets him go with a stern warning. Before heading to Seoul, Jaisu shares her deep worries about her mother. Sehan wonders why the mother kept her exact whereabouts a secret from her. Sehan looks at Jaisu, wondering what would have happened to her. Happened if he had not ended her life in her past existence. Therefore, he sees her as a key piece, a symbol of changing destiny. Meanwhile, sketchy men drag young kids along, bound together like captive animals. They are crying as the men claim their demonic bosses need young souls. They need blood and souls. Suddenly, John Shin appears on the scene. He is looking for intruders who dared to trespass on his territory. He has no idea who they are, so he decides to eliminate everyone. Elsewhere, Mina and Talon walk down the street, carrying heavy grocery bags. Talon thanks Mina for buying extra groceries with her points, so Mina boasts about her gold rating, secretly thanking Sehan for his powerful magic book. Suddenly, a thug sneaks up behind Mina, but Talon reacts instantly. Mina dodges the surprise attack, transforming her hand into a sharp blade. She slices his weapon in half and delivers a brutal metal-fisted punch. The guy collapses, prompting his partner to realize these girls are dangerous. He calls in his entire gang from the dark alleys to swarm them. But get this, the first thug's eyes suddenly mutate, shocking Mina completely. Even so, Mina remains totally confident, transforming her arms into giant mantis blades. She slices through their weapons with a single, devastating swing of her arms. One of them yells to target Talon, but she easily dodges their rush. Relieved to see her friend is safe, Mina charges forward to finish them. However, the remaining thugs realize they are outmatched and quickly flee. Catching her breath, Mina notices something deeply unsettling: the gangsters bleed black. This bizarre detail is something she needs to report to Sehan immediately. Once Sehan returns, Mina explains how they were jumped by those weird thugs. Sehan analyzes the bizarre report, realizing exactly what is going on. Black blood means they are demon servants belonging to the Dark Sky clan. He wonders why they are active now instead of building their power. Sehan wonders if this sudden bold move is because Kim Jan is gone. In his past life, the Dark Sky clan was suppressed by Kim Jan's guild. The Sins Guild kept them down, but now they have no opposition. Sehan realizes his actions have accidentally accelerated the timeline of events. Talon asks Sehan if he recognizes those enemies, and he nods in agreement. Looking at Talon's father, Sehan sees a parent deeply terrified for his daughter. Sehan reassures them, explaining that those thugs are connected to a demon. However, he admits he has no idea where their hideout is located. Sehan never encountered them in his past life, but Jaisu steps up. She knows where to look, reminding Sehan about her difficult third main mission. Sehan remembers that brutal quest and how tough it was to survive. Jaisu mentions she had to defeat Kuss and encountered a dark-blooded enemy. Finding her there changes everything. The danger is on a whole new level. He demands she lead him there immediately, heading straight to Hwagok to investigate. In Seoul's Gangseo district, something feels very off. Local shops are open as usual. Walking up to a shopkeeper, he asks a simple question: have any kids been kidnapped? The man freezes. The calm merchant instantly turns pale with sheer terror. He stammers a hasty denial, then practically runs away in a panic. Sehan refuses to quit. He keeps flashing Jisu's photo to everyone he passes. Finally, a local shopkeeper recognizes her face. He nervously pulls Sehan inside to talk. The man explains that the terrifying guild occupying their streets is not local. Apparently, Jisu destroyed the old gang, letting a new outside faction invade. These newcomers threatened to completely ruin anyone who dared speak a word. Now Sehan finally connects the dots. Everything clicks. Sehan understands the whole picture. Those bastards must be targeting children. They are harvesting children to power up a terrifying artifact, the Mask of Anguish. Just like the gods, demons are treating our world like a game. But while gods limit themselves to choosing only one or two mortal avatars, watching them closely and constantly interfering, demons play a much bigger game. Demons are totally different. They grant power to almost anyone. They build massive networks of contractors, sometimes controlling entire powerful guilds. Unlike high and mighty gods, demons do not care about raw talent. Skills and compatibility do not matter to these dark forces. They only seek desperate, greedy humans who are easily seduced by raw power. This makes their servants extremely obedient, blindly executing every cruel order. But this is not a harmless game. Their ultimate goals completely threaten humanity. Right now, they are hunting for the powerful Mask of Anguish. This terrifying artifact is forged from demonic flesh and human misery. It belongs to Nevath, the legendary 27th ranking demon lord. He feeds on despair and life force to supercharge its dark energy. Sehan leaves the shop. His mission is clear: obliterate the Dark Sky clan. Transforming into a black crow, he searches for their white headquarters. However, every building here is white, making his search pretty difficult.